Information is power. Information is power. Information is power.
The Information Man Show. What's up, everybody? Peace. Welcome to the program today. I appreciate everybody that's out there watching right now. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for your patience. This is going to be quite a program today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I need everybody to, as I said on the thumbnail, I need you to listen with a third ear, watch with a third ear, listen, because we have been conditioned to believe certain things as it relates to where black people come from in the diaspora of the world originally, where we as black Americans originally come from. And when we talk about the continent of Africa, because Africa is a continent, it is not a country. It is a continent made of many, many different countries. We often, from the perspective of, from our world perspective here in America, as black people in America, we tend to look at the continent of Africa. And when we look at it, the first thing we do is go right on up north, way up north, like nothing else exists. And we are so Egyptology oriented. Oh, Egypt this, Egypt that, the pyramids this and that. And the fact of the matter is, black people in America, and this is polarizing, people, someone out there not going to like what I got to say, but it's just true. Black people in America, whether you think you Aborigine or not, and we're going to get to what that really means today. I got a special guest on. We don't even come from that region. Black people in America, Egypt is not where we are from, but we often skip right past West Africa and jump right on over to North Africa, which is a more desert environment. And I'm going to have my guest, Chief X, who's going to come on. He's done research on this. He has a channel. I dropped the link to his channel in the description of this video. And if I should have, another thing I should have done, and I'll probably have to do it through the course of this discussion today, is I'm going to have to try to figure out a way how I can drop the direct video that he produced, which was Black Africa Debunked. Now, I know that title is polarizing. People automatically feel some kind of way about that because we want to see ourselves as descendants of the Egyptian, because it makes us feel good. It makes us feel good. It makes us look good to be able to say, hey, I'm Egyptian. We like their symbolisms. We like the Ankh. We like the pyramids. We talk about it ad nauseum, right? We talk about the mystery of Egypt, the Kemet, the Nubians, and what have you. And we say, well, the Sudan in Sudan, the Africans from Sudan are the ones that are the Egyptians, when we don't even understand that you have to look at the region itself of what we call Egypt. We have to understand that there's a upper Egypt and there's an upper and a lower Egypt, but a lot of us get it mixed up. Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and Chief X can correct me, the upper Egypt is really southern Egypt, and the northern Egypt, the upper Egypt is really northern Egypt. Northern Egypt is really southern Egypt. He'll fix me on that if I got that mixed up. It's everything is crossed in the opposite direction of what we have been taught or what we think. So we're gonna get into this today. I'm gonna bring the brother on. If we even have time today, against my better judgment, I may even see if some people want to come up and do Q&A, maybe even challenge the brother, but you're going to have to do it respectfully. I mean, respectfully, because I know there's people out there that are going to have a different of opinion about the information today. None of the information that he's going to present to you, or we're going to present to you, and mainly he's going to present to you, this is not about being emotional. Get your emotions out of this. Just look at everything logically, look at the science logically, the material, the course material, all the information, understand geology, demographics, the region in which people come from, understand how people traveled across different continents when there was a panacea. Let's get into the facts of the science of this, not our emotion. Our emotions have taught us that We are proud black people in America, and we are descendants of the Egyptians, or we think we are, because that's all we tend to focus on. We never talk about West Africa. We never rock West African culture. Now, those of you that are Pan-African, or those who are you that do rock it, hey, rock it, right? So there are some black people that do recognize it. And then there's some of us that anytime we talk about the continent, the first place we want to run to is Egypt, because Egypt is the most mysterious looking place. And we want to be associated. You know what we do in America? We want to be associated with a winner. Well, the fact of the matter is it is part of Africa, but there are different regions in Africa, and people have different features, different eyes, hair textures, eye colors, different, but it doesn't mean that they're not African. It just means that they have a different way they look geographically. When we come in America, we all call ourselves American. At least some of us do. Do we all look the same in America or Europe or anywhere in the world? No. In Africa, you got people who have woolly hair, nappy hair, some people who have straight hair. You have people that are darker skin, lighter skin, brown skin, all different shades of people throughout the world and even in the continent. So we gotta keep those things in perspective here. So with that said, let me bring my man on in here. We're talking about Chief X, a brother who puts it down, doesn't play any kind of games. He's going to give it to you straight. He's going to give it to you real. Let me put something on. I want to pretty up the background here for just the occasion. I want to bring the brother in because I think the brother is fantastic and out of this world. And I watch his videos and I'll be laughing, cracking up, because the brother not only can give you knowledge, but he can make you laugh. And he comes straight out of the streets of Compton. And here he is, everybody. What's going on, brother? What's going on? Straight out of Compton, baby. Yeah.
Information, man. How you doing, bro? I love the introduction. You done made me smile.
Thank you, brother.
Everything is lovely. It's a nice Sunday, and I'm just anticipating this discussion. I've been anticipating the discussion all week. But I need to let the people know I mean no harm, and I'm just a sincere truth seeker. You know what I mean? I study a lot of history and science. Let me put this out there. I am not a scholar at all. I just like scholarly things. And this movement and me studying history jump-started in 1992. So I've been around this movement, or what people call the conscious community, since 1992. And I consider myself a junior elder. And, I just been around, and I know where a lot of the fads and a lot of the beliefs and understandings come from and stem from. So I just want to share, and I wanted to stay on this truth-seeking mission. I'm not on a belief-seeking mission. I've been on a truth-seeking mission. And, I just want to share that information with you guys today.
Okay. Let me just say, we got Gloria Murray is in the house. She's saying peace and like and share and subscribe. Thank you. We've got Natural in the house. The Real Aaron Collins. Brown Girl is in the house. Tiffany Jackson. And how do I pronounce this? We got I can't pronounce that. You can pronounce that, brother Chief X. You see it on the screen. Kayla number one for number one. Okay, thank you. So now I got that right. We got my man Keith is in the house saying Chief X does his own independent research. I can dig that. That's what the brother Keith is saying. Keith, I'm glad you're here. We got No Nonsense. We got Tiffany Jackson. We got Sister White here. I appreciate you being here.
Jordan White.
Jordan White is in the house. Thank you for being here. Another clap to her and clap to everybody. Yeah, thank you for coming on through. I hope that some of your people will come on over here today and join us. Born Rich Club is in the house. And I like this brother right here. We got it's your boy Leo from the Entertainment X Entertainment Incorporated is in the house. And I appreciate you coming in. It's your boy. Thank you for coming in. We got Nappy Yankee in the house saying Information Man Show. Make sure you ask him about the Amos Will. Okay, brother. Yeah, we can't stay away from any controversy today, and we'll do the best we can. Let me see. We got the Empowered Esquire TV in the house. Let me give her a clap. That's an attorney at law. And I've had her on the show many a times talking about these various legal issues that have been going on. So with that said, brother Chief X, as you said that you've been around the conscious community for many years now. Is there anything else you need to tell people about your background? Because I can tell just from listening to some of your videos that you're a very well-read brother. You think very logically. You don't get caught up in the emotions. I think once upon a time, all of us, including myself, we get caught up in the emotions of how things make us feel. A lot of times I believe black people spend too much time allowing symbolism to sway us. We get caught up in symbolism too much, my brother. And so I want to address this issue straight up with you. Now, in some of your research, you clearly define the fact that black people are a tropical. We are tropical. We are not from northern Africa, although we seem to celebrate Egypt as if that's where we come from. And you do speak about the fact that when we do this so much, the question I would say to you is, are we disrespecting our ancestors who actually come from the western part of Africa? What do you say?
I believe that we are. What people have to understand is, like you were saying earlier, Africa is a continent. It's not a country. Africa is a continent made up of 54 countries. Asia is a continent.
Mm-hmm.
So people have to understand these basic things when we're going to have this discussion. Africa is the most genetically diverse continent on the planet. Right? So meaning that there's different genetic makeups of people on the continent. People have to understand, like if someone says the word African, what pops in our minds as Black Americans or African Americans, I'm cool with either one of those terms, is a nappy-headed, kinky-haired Black person that looks like us right here or darker.
Okay.
But I always have to tell people, no, all of Africa is not Black Africa and has never been Black Africa. North Africa is not Black Africa. North Africa is made up of Moroccans, Tunisians, Algerians, Libyans, and Egyptians. I don't call them Black people, okay? They are not nappy, kinky-haired people. They're made up of Berbers, and in Egypt you have Coptics and Egyptians and North Africans, okay? Because we are tropical Africans. North Africa is desert or arid Africa. Okay. It's just like if you go to Asia. Pakistanis and Chinese don't claim to be the same people.
That's true.
Because they are on the same continent. Armenians and Palestinians don't consider themselves the same people because they're on the same continent. It's African Americans who are confused by these concepts and understandings.
Okay.
Because we are the ones who are the people who are least informed about our identity and where we come from and who we are because of the slave trade.
Okay. But let me ask you this question. And this is going to be polarizing, and some people may not like or like this. Have we also, a lot of times as Black people, we will say that we've been miseducated by white society. And yes, in many ways, these institutions that we've gone to schools have miseducated us on our own history. But however, and you have talked about this, we have Black so-called scholars who either have no PhDs, no real credible background, but they have this personality that we so much get swayed by that we listen to them because maybe they've written a few books here and here that have not been actually peer reviewed, but we get emotional because it's a black person finally telling us something positive about ourselves, like in the case of Egypt, right? Have we also been miseducated by those black so-called intellectuals as well, Chief X? And I know that's a very unpopular thing to say. That's the truth.
Yeah,
Tell the truth.
I've been canceled for talking about some of the so-called scholastic elders in the community. I've called a lot of them habitual liars. I've said that they've lied intentionally on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand that these people have labeled themselves Afrocentrics. Okay. Mm-hmm. And at the time, there's a man named Sheikh Anta Diop.
Yes.
Who back in the days did a melanin test on some mummies in Egypt. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard about that. Go ahead,
this
brother.
Teaching went out as if he proved that the ancient Egyptians was black because they had melanin. And people didn't understand at that time because we weren't into science per se. But a melanin test is not a DNA test. Those are two different things, right? Everyone, all humans have melanin, okay? Just like there's some light-skinned people in my family and all through the community who are more fair-skinned or lighter than a Southeast Asian or a person from Thailand. So if you're testing to see if something's melanated, that doesn't mean that the person was black. You understand? Everyone was melanated. So those desert people had melanin in them. So doing a melanin test doesn't prove anything. So it trickled on down to teachers like Dr. Ben, who we hold in high esteem. But in hindsight, I found that Dr. Ben lied a lot. He lied about his credentials. He lied about his education. He lied about where he was from. Claimed that he was his father was Ethiopian, which he wasn't. Claimed that his mother was Puerto Rican, which she wasn't. May have been Afro Puerto Rican, but he never says Afro Puerto Rican.
Okay.
He's Puerto Rican, and he's not biracial.
Okay.
So a lot of the information that came down from our master teachers was just simply wrong. And today in 2021, we can see that because we are more science-based than they were back then. So to clarify your question, there was a time in the 19th century, 18th century where they had Eurocentrism, which was basically Europeans, which basically was racist scholastics, you know what I mean? So Eurocentrism and Europeans also began to claim ancient Egypt. Everybody wanted to claim ancient Egypt. But the thing about it is Afrocentrism came about to combat Eurocentrism.
Okay.
But they're both are racist. They both were wrong. You understand? I'm not saving anyone. They both were wrong. But Eurocentrism ceased a long time ago.
Okay.
Like people in Germany, Italy, England, and these Europeans don't claim to be Egyptians today. Only Black Americans still claim that. Afrocentrists still keep up the racist scholastic teachings and claim.
Okay. But isn't that could that be because once again, when you look at how black people came out of the Black Power movement, where we were told that we were nappy, ugly, big-lipped, and what have you. And then, of course, you had those caricatures of us back in the 40s and 30s and 1900s. That could that be the reason? Could that have influenced black scholars or black people who are quote unquote intellects to want to show a more positive side to black people, especially when we got into the area of I'm black and I'm proud and black people begin to have afros and what have you? Could us gravitating towards Egypt being a way to try to deal with our self-esteem as a people? That's just a question I want to put on the table. And of course, there was a young lady, Sister White, who said, Aren't the Ethiopians, she's asking a question, are the Ethiopians the cousins of the Egyptians? That's a question that she also had. That's a side note question there, brother. But do you understand? But you get where I'm going at with that first statement that I said.
Yes, sir. And that you're exactly right. So Afrocentrism was actually created as a process to help the self-esteem of African Americans.
Let me put you front and center with that book. Tell us more. What's the time? Okay, We Can't Go Home Again.
This
An
is the
argument
book
about Afrocentrism by Clarence Walker?
by Clarence E. Walker. He's a PhD.
Wow.
And he goes in and done a lot of research on the origins of Afrocentrism, how it started and why it started. So, like, we were afflicted with slavery. It's a shame to a lot of people. So a lot of people wanted to connect themselves to something else that they considered sexy. So Egypt was sexy to people. So everybody laid claim to it. We wanted to lay claims to being the original Native Americans. We wanted to lay claims to be the Moors. We wanted to lay claims to be the ancient Egyptians and claim everything except what we really are, which is West Central Africans. So yeah, Afrocentrism was an attempt to improve the self-esteem of enslaved Africans here in America.
Okay.
And this book is a great book. It goes all into that and discusses the whys, the how, and the origins of the different scholars from Sheikh to Diop, even before him.
Right.
And how and why we took this road of claiming Egypt and making up what some called revisionist history. So there's a lot of revised history being taught by Afrocentrics. And a lot of the Afrocentrics wanted to remove all the professionals and the credentialed teachers out the way, and they wanted to teach you themselves. So this is why a lot of our elders didn't have credentials. They weren't real PhDs, things of that nature.
Okay. Let me just say, what's up, George Makeham Experience? He says, peace, black power to the whole chat room. Peace to you. We got Miss V coming in the house. Chris CCC, good to see you over here. We got Darius L of the BAIO. Thank you for coming over. We got Deborah Catch by Faith, back to the basics. Earl Owens, been following me for a long time. Peace and shout out to all the mods out there. Got to give you all a clap. Everybody who's come in. We got Patty in the house. We got Bonnie Rose that's coming in the house. No nonsense. Kiki05 is in the house. And I think as time goes on, we'll be getting more people coming over. People, because football Sunday and what have you. Oh, I got a super chat from my man, Real Aaron Collins. Thank you for the super chat. Did I miss that super chat? But I do see it, Aaron Collins. Let me go up here and see what he says. Real Aaron Collins says this. A lot of North Africans are also more white European identifying. This is something that you talk about. Identifying anyway. Thank you, Chief X, for pulling the cover off of these lies we've been told. What do you want to say to that, brother?
He is absolutely right. So, North Africa from Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, all the way to Egypt, they have genetic affinities that are similar. And they've been flowing through there, migrating and back migrating for at least 30,000 years. Meaning they have genetic affinities to people in the Near East, the Levant, Turkey, and Southern Europe. Just beware the terminology. So they have genetic affinities all related to each other. North Africa has never been Black Africa for 30,000 years. And to double down on this, I made the challenge to any scholar on earth, not just people we call in the so-called conscious community. Anybody on earth who thinks different, I made this challenge. I said, and I asked, name one, just one, not 2, 3, 4, 5, just name one Black, kinky, nappy-haired tribe or nation that lived in North Africa, Levant, the Near East, or the Caucasus in the last 5,000 years who set up camp there, and their culture was born there.
Okay.
So when someone's indigenous, to me, I explain that as like the Native Americans are indigenous. They set up camp there 15,000 years ago, give or take, and their culture was born in the Western Hemisphere. So they're an indigenous tribe or group to that land. So nobody can name one black nappy-headed tribe or nation or group that their culture was born anywhere in North Africa, the Levant, the Near East. No one can name one.
No one can name one.
And no one has ever made that challenge. No one has ever said North Africa has never been Black Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa and East Africa is Black Africa, which is the majority of Africa, but just not North Africa. Right.
Let me give a shout out to Miss Dukes and is in the house. Let me say congratulations to Natural. She's doing big things. We got J-Lo Rich in the house who's come in. Who else? Patty D. I always feel like I'm missing somebody, but I'll try to get right back in here and shout people out. Let's do this, Chief X. Let's do this, Chief X. Let's do this. Let me put this. We talked about this before we went on. So that people can see this from an actual mapping kind of level. I got two maps up here. You tell me which one you want. I got this one up here of Africa. I'm going to take something off the screen because I want you to explain it the way you did on your video. And ladies and gentlemen, what I need to do is I am going to drop a copy of that video into the chat room, and just very soon, that's his complete 3-hour video where he goes more into detail so that you can have a better understanding. My thing is, you should always hold your judgment until you actually do the research yourself. And then you can say, okay, this does make sense or this does not make sense. That's how we have to be. We can't get emotional. Oh, he just talking bullshit. No, you got to first find out if it's true, verify it. Then you can criticize it. A lot of times what I find is that sometimes people, because they are emotionally connected to something, Chief X, they'll just first get emotional about it before they go and verify it for themselves. Then they can have a more educated disagreement to it, right?
Yeah, people see and read something and snap and get. I tell them to don't be reactionary, be
right,
be rational.
Okay, so this is what we have here. Tell me if you want this map or you want this map. You got that map right there, and then we got this map right here. Which one would you want to go with to kind of explain it?
The latter. Let me see the letter again.
That one you talked about, and then we got this one here.
Okay, let's go with that one.
Okay, can you explain as best as you can, because we're kind of compacting your research here, what we're looking at, what people need to understand about the differences here on this continent map?
Right. Okay, so as African Americans or Black Americans, whichever one you feel comfortable with, I'm fine with either. Mm-hmm. We are sub-Saharan Africans first off, and we are tropical Africans. Okay, tropical Africa. They have tropical Africa. They have semi-tropical Africa. So when you're looking at North Africa on this map here, mm-hmm. the dark brown, that is desert Africa or arid Africa. It's mm-hmm. North Africa. We're not desert Africans. We are tropical Africans in semi-tropical Africans, meaning we are below those brown, that light brown going across Africa would be considered, let's just say that's the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
Which prevented travel from sub-Saharan Africa up to North Africa, unless you're on the east or west extremes of Africa. Okay?
So right here on the map, it talks about the forest land. So everybody, where you see the green at, it talks about the forest prime agricultural land, right? Then you've got the semi-desert, which is the lighter brownish color or tannish color, whatever you looking at. You have the extreme desert, which is the darker part, more higher in the area of North Africa. And then you got the grassy land, suitable land here, which is in the yellow. And Chief X, I don't mean to cut you off in your presentation here, but I have to bring this up because I'm a student. I have a student way I look at things. And I heard you say that when you traveled to Ghana, that you felt at home in the forest, that Ghana has a foresty makeup to it. And you said you felt like you were coming home. See, ladies and gentlemen, let me put him front and center. This is not a black man just talking. He has been to the continent. He has laid foot there. Now go right ahead, brother Chief X.
So as you on that map, you've seen the green areas, which is tropical Africa, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of West and Central Africans come out of what they call the Bantu expansion. That was just in general, let's just talk in general, down in more Southern Africa and spread out and ended up in Central Africa and in West Africa later. So in Ghana and Nigeria are in tropical Africa areas and forest areas. So I always make the claim I'm a forest African. I come up out the forest, right?
Right. From
the Congo all the way to Ghana. And when I made my trip to Ghana 2 years ago for my 50th birthday, I went to the forest. We took a tour in the forest. I got some honey in the forest, mm-hmm. and I felt so at home, like I just wanted to set up camp and move and live up in the forest somewhere. I was saying. Mm-hmm. So when I went to Ghana, I went to 5 different museums in Ghana. And nowhere in any of them museums do I see any Egyptian symbolism. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I see Ndinkra symbols. You know what I mean? I see symbolism related to West Central Africa in those museums. Nothing at all North Africa or Egypt related. But what you're saying is I just felt comfortable in the forest. I knew that was where I came from and where my people came from. You know
okay.
I just felt at home. And when I was driving down the different roads, and we went from Accra inland 4 hours to Kumasi, Ghana, you'll see a lot of grave sites. You know, bury people. Anyway, it's not like a real cemetery, but people just bury people, and you see grave sites. And all I can think about was, those are my ancestors in these.
Your ancestors.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
These are my people. Why is everybody touring and running to Egypt, helping the Arab Emirates economy, helping the Berbers economy, spending money with Berber and North African locals, and I'm sitting here in Ghana, and this orphanage needs help and money. You know what I mean? I'm spending money with the locals, and I'm donating in Ghana, and I just felt at home there. And I said, you know, when I came from Ghana, I said, it is my mission. The ancestors said, bring your people home, bring them back to West Africa. Get them out of Egypt.
Now, you're right, brother. Let me laugh with you. You telling the truth. Let me ask you this question and say this too. You made it very clear in your research on your video that for many of you, when we have scholars who look like us or people that are quote unquote conscious teaching us these things, whether it's miseducation or them trying to make us feel good about ourselves emotionally, we are leading towards, this is what I notice. People, I'm saying this in general, folks, so don't take what I'm saying out of context. In general, people get very excited about the idea of a trip to Egypt, opposed to a trip to Ghana, Nigeria, or some other part of the western part of the continent. And you made it very clear in your research that if black people are traveling over to this northern Africa, which, by the way, I did some research on this, Chief X. Do you know that the northern part of Africa holds the bigger strength of the economy of Africa, if I'm not mistaken? They maintain the strongest hold. Well, guess what? If we're bringing our butts over there to Egypt, we're putting a lot of money in the economy of a people that are there that are Arab in their persuasion, if I'm saying that correct. We're putting money into that economy, which is already the strongest economy in the continent, is the northern part. But yet, look at what we could have done, as you said, if we were putting that same money and traveling to the western part of Africa, where many of us already have ancestry. What could we have done to create that not only a economic connection, but also a personal connection with the continent, that particular region? Chief X, what do you say about that?
Yeah, so like Dr. Ben began taking people back and forth to Egypt, I believe, late 70s, and it really jumped off the early 80s. I think 84 was a really important mass trip a lot of people took. So I'm like, what if since the late 70s that we as African Americans have took all these educational tours, cultural learning tours back and forth to West Africa, where we actually came from. Over 40 years now, we would have made a bridge. We would have been able to do some networking by now, strengthened the economy in West Africa, built relationships, right? So when I went to West Africa, I sell moringa, right? So I found me a moringa connection when I was in West Africa. I didn't use it, but I had another moringa connection in Senegal. So I was doing international business. They were shipping me moringa from Senegal, and I'd bag it and package it up and sell it here to my people. So not only did I get an international connection to do business, I met some friends. You know, I have friends there now. I can if I go back now, I got people who I can stay with in Ghana. I've built some connections. So I was saying that what if since 1980, all these Black Americans have went back and forth to trips and spent money in hotels in West Africa, spent money with locals in West Africa. We would have connections. We would really possibly be having a real Pan-African diasporic connection, but we lost that. We took our trips to Egypt instead, trying to attach ourselves to something we think is sexy.
Okay, let me do this. Let me say peace to Gloria Murray, who's one of my mods in there. She gave me a $10 super chat.
Thank you for
I appreciate that. And now my man Keith, who's definitely been supporting the channel here. He says, I don't have much to put out there this time, but I'm really enjoying the session with Information Man and Chief X. I'm very new to this brother, subscribing now. And go ahead and subscribe to the brother. You will find him very logical, very entertaining, but he's going to tell you the truth. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you do not have an adult mind and ear, and you're very sensitive, I'm telling you, he's not for you, and that's the truth.
Tell the truth.
But if you can handle real talk, straight talk, no BSing around, but he gives you a little bit of humor too, then he's for you.
Tell the truth.
And what I want the mods to do is I put in the description of this video his link to his channel. I want the mods to drop his channel periodically through the stream if you can. No, do it if you can. And I am going to, because I got it right in my phone, so I'm going to transfer it from the phone into the phone YouTube, and I'm going to drop the video that gives you more detail into what we're talking about today. Now, somebody in the chat room put something out there that was very powerful. Let me say what's up to Tiffany Jackson. We got Beverly. Pamela's in the house. Chris CC, Just Jay in the house. Darius L. Earl Owen's been rocking with me for definitely some time now. Yvette W is in the house. See if I missed anybody. Bloodsport 11 or Bloodsport 1 is in the house. Been following me pretty heavy now. And just a lot of great people in the chat room. Let me give you a clap. Now, I got to ask this question, brother. Someone in the chat asked, I think it might have been Miss Sister White again, or somebody asked this question. I might have the person wrong, but it's somebody who asked we got Patella Africa in the house saying, good evening, Information Man and Chief X. Love this topic. Yeah, I can't forget this sister here. We got Mickey Bricks 2.0 coming in from the UK. A lot of international people over here too as well. And we got Back to the Basics, Chris CC, Patty P, just a lot of great people in the chat room there, brother. There was somebody in the chat earlier, and I might have missed them, who said, what about the Persians? how the Persians went into Ethiopia, East Africa, and they put their foothold into North Africa. If I am correct, brother, what is your understanding of that history?
Well, Persians were in and out of Africa. I'm not well read about the Persians per se, because sometimes I just call them all West Asians.
Right, just like you have the dramatic tribes of Europe, right?
Right.
Germans, they all come from Germans.
Right. I didn't say West Asian, Hittites, Persians. You know what I mean? So I kind of forgot the question, but
you know what I'm going to do? Let me see if I could find. I'm strolling up in my chat room right now on Yard Streams, and see if I could find that person's question. If not, I hope they can rewrite. Oh, there it is, right here. I want you to read this, Chief X. Here it is. You can see that Persia invaded Africa a long time ago and took over north and east parts of Africa, but there are still black tribes all over all locations of Africa.
Okay, I see where she's coming from.
So I'm sorry, I didn't quote what she said properly, which is why I'm glad I found it.
Now Africa is a large continent, so to narrow it down, Persians took over a certain geographical area, but sometimes I'm careful of the wording.
Yes.
So like they may have won some political battles.
Yes.
Over politically. Like for instance, people think the Egyptians are Arab, but they're not Arab per se. Only an army of 4,000 people in the 600s invaded Egypt. Okay. But they didn't displace the population that was there. They just took over politically. You understand me? But
yes.
The Egyptians still remain there. It's like even in Central and West Africa, the Brits colonized Ghana, but the Ghanaian people are still there.
Okay.
They didn't disappear. Like sometimes people think the Egyptians just disappeared, and that's
right.
a fallacy too. They never disappeared. The modern day Egyptian is the ancient Egyptian.
Right. And can I say this, brother? What I remember being taught this, because this is how, once again, black people in America, we want to be proud of who we are. We want to be relevant. And sometimes history can gain you certain pride. And I remember as I grew up being told that what happened is that the Arabs came in, and I used to repeat this same stuff too. The Arabs came in and invaded Egypt, took it over, and sort of made the black Egyptians go extinct. And now the Arabs, as they call them in North Africa, are not the original people of the land. They are the invaders. And the real people are people who look just like you and me, big nose, big lips, and nappy hair. So let's clean that up, Chief X, can we?
Yeah, so, and I used to think that back in the day. I got Egyptian tattoos all on me. It's just where I was in my mind state at that time, back in the 90s and early 2000s. But no people has just disappeared and left the face of the earth. The proper teaching would have been Arabs invaded Egypt, and there was a political change.
Okay.
They didn't have wars like we think of now, just killing and decimating and stuff like that. That never happened. So in all over the earth, the indigenous people of that land are still in that land. They never disappeared. The Egyptians never wrote or recorded that they had some mass migration and moved somewhere. There's no documentation of that. So we know today from science, the ancient Egyptians,
yes,
the modern Egyptians in general, they carry about 70% of the genetic composition of the ancient Egyptians. So when you look at Egypt today, and know what an Egyptian is, 97% of the population is the Egyptians with straight hair. The other 3% are immigrants, Nubians, and the Afar people. Afar people and Nubians are not Egyptians. For a long time, people used to confuse the Nubian with the Egyptian, but they are totally two different people. They didn't always vibe and get along. So, like, I think you're gonna go into us talking about the 25th dynasty, but should I hold up on that?
Yeah, we're gonna hold up. I'm not going to. You let me know when you're ready to deal with that, and I'll pop that up on the screen, brother. No problem at all.
Well, let me just say something on it now, then.
Oh, okay. So let me just do this. So where do I have my stuff at here? So let's go right here. Why is it that? Oh, okay. So for example, this is the time period that we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. The 25th dynasty of ancient Egypt, 746 BC to 653 BC. We're talking about what, thousands and thousands of years here, folks. And then let's go into this area right here. So I want everybody to read what I have at the bottom of the description, and Chief X is going to go a little bit into this area. The 25th dynasty refers to the king of Kush, which includes Nubia, who ruled all or parts. Listen, this is very key. They ruled all or parts of Egypt from around 746 to 653 BC, thousands of years ago. This period parallels the Egyptian third intermediate period, if I'm reading that right, period. So that's up there for now, and I'll put more stuff up here, and I'll put this up here too. This comes out of your research, brother. The Kushnites, the kings of this period, considered themselves the embodied sons of the Golden Amra. They sought to reunite the ancient original domain of Amun, A-M-U-N. If I'm saying that wrong, you can fix that for me, brother, with the Egyptians and the Nubians as the north and the south, I guess, hemispheres. Brother, let's explain that, Chief X. Clean that up for me. And the writing on here does come from your research, brother.
I was offering you a cigar.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So like, you have the 25th dynasty, which people call the Black Dynasty or the Black Pharaohs. So in the entire world of academia, when you click on or hear the word the Black Pharaohs, they're talking about one specific dynasty, which is the 25th dynasty. The 25th dynasty was a Kushite dynasty. Sometimes the word Kushite and Nubian is used interchangeably. So let's just be aware. So the 25th dynasty was a dynasty that the Nubians took political control of Egypt and ruled Egypt for almost, let's just say, 100 years. Okay. Any other dynasty, they never have called the Black Pharaohs or the Black Dynasty, just the 25th dynasty. So a lot of times, that 25th dynasty, which was a Kushite or Nubian dynasty, you'll see statues and artwork of them, you know? So for years, African Americans didn't distinguish between what was Nubian and what was Egyptian. So a lot of the Nubian artwork and the 25th dynasty artwork and statues is in Egypt. So sometimes when you see these Nubian or Kushite statues and artwork, in your mind, you say, oh, okay, Egypt was black. But you didn't understand and know how to distinguish that was the 25th dynasty art and 25th dynasty statues. And you thought that the Egyptians were black. But no, that was just a Nubian or Kushite dynasty.
That's just like tell me if I'm wrong or right, brother. That's just like the Moors when they controlled parts of Europe and they went over to Europe. And if you go to parts of Europe and around the world, you will see dome-shaped buildings that are akin to another time. So for example, when someone conquers another nation or takes someone over, they're going to leave some of their presence behind. So if the Nubians, the 25th dynasty, was a dynasty of a black pharaoh, some of those artifacts are going to be left behind. And what happens is that some of our black scholars or some of our black intellects will say, well, see, this means that black people always controlled Egypt. No, that's a time period in which we had a rule in the region, but it's just artifacts that are left over like any other artifact that's still left over when another group takes over politically, as you had said before. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, that was only 100 years out of
100 years,
3,000 years.
So are you prepared to say, for everyone listening, are we prepared to say, based on history, that a black pharaoh ruled Egypt, or some black people as we know it, had control of that part of the world for about 100 years, and that's about it?
That's it.
So can we make the argument, Chief? Okay, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I don't want to confuse people.
Okay.
Now, Nubians and Cushites, whatever you want to call them, did do business, did do trade with Egyptians. There were times throughout the 3,000 years where they may have got along or vibed a minute, but they were actually enemies. You know what I mean? The Egyptians considered the Asiatic and the Nubian to be their born enemies. So in general, the Egyptians didn't even like the Nubians, from what I've read and what I've understood and seen.
Okay, and so we have always been, I got to be honest, I was taught, or a lot of our scholars will say, that the Nubians were the Egyptians, the original Egyptians, right? But you're saying that they had their time in the sun for about 100 years where they ruled. And then after they lost control, the Egyptians that were there that came back after them never got along with the Nubians, didn't really like the Nubians. And I understand from your research that they saw the Nubians as beneath them, as rubbish, as sort of, as what do we call it today? They were ratchet, according to how the Egyptians would see them. They were ratchet. Now, this is the question that I have to ask you, and everyone needs to know this. They talk about when pyramids first begin to appear in this part of the world. Is it true or is it not true that it was the Nubians who actually were the ones who brought the sort of idea of what we call a pyramid? Were they the foundation of pyramids popping up in Egypt, or are they just a contributor to it? What do you say, Chief X?
No, not at all. The Egyptian pyramids are 1,000 years older than the Nubian pyramids. The Nubians built pyramids after the Egyptians because they were influenced by the Egyptians. The Nubians didn't even have a written language until they were influenced by the Egyptians. And then they began Morocco writing script. So the pyramids in Nubia are way, way later and newer than those Egyptian pyramids. The first Egyptian, not the first, but the Egyptian pyramids, like the main one we see, the Pyramid of Giza, is in North Egypt, close to the Mediterranean. Okay. We're not Mediterranean people and never have been. But people, and a lot of Afrocentrics have taught this thing that Narmer, the first dynasty pharaoh that we know of, called Narmer, some people call him Menes, came from the south. But that's not true. They tried to parlay it as if he came from the south, from Sudan. But no, Narmer came from a city called Thinis.
Thinis, yes. Which
is in the middle of from the Mediterranean Sea, northern Egypt, and Nubia. Thinis is in the middle. So Narmer came from, when they say the south, they're just saying the south of what would be Lower Egypt or Northern Egypt, and blended the two lands.
Okay, let's get this correct too, because I heard you say this. a lot of people, they focus on what's going on. Kendrick is in the house. We got House of Entertainment Incorporated is in the house. Sister Murray is working hard in there as a mod, and I appreciate that. Everybody's working hard. We got Wolf Clan in the house. We got Keith in the house. We got Craig R in the house. Patella Afro is in the house. Really appreciate her being over here. Blood Sport 1. I Am V is in the house. Patty P. Back to the Basics. Chris CC. Tiffany Jackson, Natural's in the house. Back to the Basics. We got the beautiful Bernice who's come in the house. Thank you. Yvette W is here. Just a lot of great people in the chat room right now, listening and soaking up the information. We got Jesus Price, if I'm saying that name right. Thank you.
That's one of my social media friends.
All right, Jesus Price. Thank you for coming over. I'm gonna give him a clap. Yeah, that's right. That's right. How can I say this? I heard you explain this, that we have to understand that there's the Sudan, right? Which is, and then there's Egypt itself. And I think sometimes we get it mixed up as if it's the same. It's all the same. We know that people move around and they migrate, but it ain't all the same. Now, you made a very distinct statement. You said that there's Lower Egypt and there's Upper Egypt. But a lot of us get it mixed up. We got to reverse it. Is Upper Egypt, work with me, brother, is Upper Egypt really Southern Egypt? And is Northern Egypt or Lower Egypt really Upper Egypt? Is it the reverse, brother?
Yeah, they base that to this day, sometimes I get tongue twisted and screw that up.
I'm getting tongue twisted now.
But yeah, when you say Upper Egypt, you basically mean Southern Egypt.
Okay.
So when you say Lower Egypt, you basically mean Northern Egypt. And I guess they go by the way the Nile River flows. So, since it flows from the interior to the exterior, they use those terms Upper and Lower Egypt, I guess. I'm not
right. If I'm not mistaken,
I wish they would change that stuff.
Right. if I'm not mistaken, Chief, isn't the Nile River the only river in the world, or one of them, if not the only, that runs north? It runs up instead of running down, and that's unusual.
Right. And
I find that to be very unusual.
And the longest river too.
Right. And we know by the research that it was the river that saved or helped, that benefited the Nubians, right, based on their geographical location.
So you don't see the achievements in Egypt and the construction and different things that people so-called glorify in Egypt. You don't really see it in sub-Saharan Africa.
Wow.
But the thing about it is that I consider Sudan, and some don't. I consider it sub-Saharan Africa or tropical Africa, but
okay,
they just happen to be privileged enough to live along the Nile River, and travel and do business, where the rest of sub-Saharan Africa wasn't that privileged. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So Nubians are looked at in a better light historically than other sub-Saharan nations. And because they were just privileged to be able to interact, trade, learn from, be influenced from Egyptians and others in that area around the Levant and the Near East and things like that. So,
Right. Yeah, Sister Murray, that is true. The Nile River is the only river in the world that runs north. Most rivers do not run up north. They go south. So there's something, I don't want to sound, because people do make Egypt this magical place. People say it's the most extraterrestrial landscape, the way it's designed. There are people who say that the pyramids were built top down and not from the bottom up. A lot of mysterious things about this land. And there are people out there who say, well, little green men flew from another planet and gave them the knowledge and then left. There's all these sort of things around Egypt and the mysteriousness of that. And that's why I personally believe that black people in America in particular we gravitate to it because it is so mysterious. And once we got a glimpse of that 25th dynasty, we said, that's right. That's us. Look at them noses. Look at them features. That's us. But we gotta use less emotions and use scientific study here. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you cannot tell race by a stone carving, a stone statue. You just can't tell race. You just can't say, okay, you got a flat nose, that means he's us. You know what I mean? The Olmecs were like that. But if you go all through Brazil, there's plenty of native tribes all through the Amazon jungles, flat, broad noses. The Olmecs, people in that area, they had flat, broad noses also. Some have pointy noses. The flat, broad phenotype nose is everywhere. So like if you make a stone carving of some of these Native Americans and some of them natives in the Amazon jungle,
yes,
if you make a stone carving, it's going to look like a black man in your Black American mind. You know?
Because that goes back to what we said before we went live, that we all, ladies and gentlemen, we all have a worldview. So if you live in America, your worldview is going to be biased by your vantage point of where you live. Someone who lives in Europe, someone who lives in the continent of Africa in a particular country there, they're going to have a worldview based on where they come from as well. But this goes right into this question that I want to say to you. Ivan van Sertima. I'm bringing him up for this reason because it goes right into what we're talking about. Let me echo effect out of there. This goes right into it. Ivan van Sertima has been criticized, but I remember when I read his book, They Came Before Columbus, 800 BC, he talked about the statues, sort of like what we were talking about. And he said that the white scientists or anthropologists tried to discredit it as being black people that they found in parts of, whether it be South America or what we call the New World today. As you said, the New World, meaning this was a place that they had never been to. It was brand new to other people around the world. And they said, this is a new world versus the old world. And he said that those statues were the statues that the native people here carved of the blacks, the Africans who came over, because they saw them as if they were gods, and that there was rumor that the Africans were already trading silver and various precious metals with native people on this land we call North America. And they left these huge basin statues that you can find in Mexico, down in the Mexico area, these huge statues. And that the white anthropologist said, oh, well, the reason why the noses are big and the lips are like that is because their instruments that they used to carve them were inferior instruments. And so his argument is that, no, these were black people. How do you jive with Ivan van Sertima, who does talk about Africans' presence in what we call the New World before Europeans even got here?
You know, Ivan van Sertima was wrong as hell, first off. No disrespect to the man. But when he wrote his book, It Came Before Columbus, it was before, I believe, before the genome was mapped, right?
Okay.
So everything was based off of what we say lookership and not scholarship. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So he based his opinions and what he taught based on just because it looks like that.
Black.
But there's no proof of Africans coming to America. They make these claims that the Egyptians sailed to America from where they at. And if you know geography, that's kind of impossible.
They talked about pottery.
Right.
That there was Egyptian pottery found here with the natives on this land. And then there was an exchanging of culture. Now, is it true or not, Chief X, that various cultures had trading routes with each other, right? That there was various cultures that had exchange of ideas and culture, right? Because in Ivan van Sertima's book, he talks about that there was a pyramid that appeared, I believe, in South America. And he believed in his research that it had to be influenced by someone who was a pyramid maker in Egypt on the people, the native people here. When you get into the Aztecs and the Mayas and all those sort of things, that these things start popping up because these two cultures exchange technology. I don't know how true that is or not, because none of us was living then to really know what was going on, but we got to make sense of it. It's got to be logical. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So we have these pyramids arguing, but see, certain geometrical shapes are universal.
Okay.
You know what I mean, like any human would eventually build that geometrical shape. Like, say, for instance, the Native Americans had teepees.
Okay.
A teepee is a pyramid shape.
That's true.
I mean, like when you're building, you just the mind and humans we create based off of geometrical shapes. So it's not just because one person was before the other person doesn't mean that they got it from each other. You know what I mean? Some things just kind of is a common sense kind of thing. But we do know that no Africans traveled to the Americas because you cannot cross large body oceans in a canoe, right? People began to cross large body oceans until the Portuguese improved shipbuilding technology, and they were able to build ships that were able to cross large body oceans. Other than that, if you had like a canoe, like the Native Americans, and I know the oldest boat found in Africa was in Nigeria, which is like 8,500 years old, and which is a canoe. Even any boats in ancient Egypt, I call that a glorified canoe. And me being in the Navy, I know that ship cannot cross no large body oceans. If a wave hit it in rough waters, you're gonna die. There's gonna be cracks in it. It just won't make it. So when Portuguese improved shipbuilding technology in the late 1300s, it was called the Age of Discovery. The Age of Discovery. You can look that up. You know what I mean?
Age of Discovery.
Right, and that's when human trafficking across large body oceans into different continents began.
Okay, let me do this, Chief X. Let me do this because this is the area that was in your research, and I'm going to put a map up, and I'm also going to put something else up that you're very familiar with. Just give me 1 minute to take a couple of things off of here.
So, like, even the ancient Egyptians never wrote that they came to the America. Modern Egyptians never claimed that they came to the Egypt. So African Americans have basically been lying on the ancient Egyptians. If the ancient Egyptians didn't say they came here, didn't write about it, didn't leave any documentation about it. If the West Africans didn't write about it, didn't leave no documentation about it. Why are African Americans making these claims, lying on these two different peoples?
Okay.
They didn't say that. So we have this wild imagination as Black Americans, and a lot of Afrocentrics made up these stories.
Okay, this is what I want to do. And you're absolutely right. We have to stay. I think the reason why these stories are good because, our history, we come out of an oral tradition where people told stories to get us through, as we have said before, through the hard times. And these kind of stories make you feel good about yourself and what have you. But we got to be about truth and we got to be about logic. This is what I want to do. This is the map that you had that you were talking about. And going along with that, let me put this up here right quick. Explain to everybody as it relates to the map that you're going to talk about, the travel,
Right.
Break this down, the ice sheet, break that down, the literary ice sheet.
Right. So Columbus, and they make the story that he claimed that he discovered the New World, right? But they also did tell you that there were people here. So what they're basically saying is they discovered it for themselves and for their world, right? Because the Native Americans came into the Western Hemisphere. They have East Asian DNA. So they came through the Bering Straits from northern Russia all the way to Alaska and into Canada and down into into North America and then down to Brazil and the Caribbeans, right?
Okay.
So they came in approximately 15,000 years ago, right? They couldn't come in before that because it was an ice age, which they call also the Laurentine ice sheet.
Laurentine ice sheet. Let me just read this off. The mass sheet of ice that covered millions of square miles, including most of Canada and a large portion of northern United States, multiple times during this particular ice age. Let me just take that off the screen and let you continue there, brother. Thank you.
Right. So nobody, in my opinion, was in the Western Hemisphere during that ice age until the ice began to melt approximately, give or take, 15,000 years ago. Then the East Asian type filtered in there once that ice melted through the Bering Straits, through Alaska down into Canada, into the United States and Mexico, or maybe they took the coastline and then populated Brazil. So that's why when you see uncontacted tribes in Brazil, like even today, all in the Amazon jungle, you don't see any nappy-headed ones coming up out of there. They're all straight-haired Native American types, okay? So nobody, that's why the Western Hemisphere is indigenous to Native Americans, nobody else, okay? So when Columbus came there, it was a new world. So it was new to the old world, to Africans and Europeans and Australians. It was a new world. They didn't, you know what I mean? Like I make the statement, the ancient Egyptians didn't even know it was a Western Hemisphere. The Western Central Africans, including the ancient Egyptians, didn't even know that there was a Western Hemisphere. And I bet people, I give you $100 straight to your Cash App if you can prove me wrong. Nobody knew it existed. Technology was not that advanced in them days. It's just like I live in California, right? So without satellites and without news and technology and TV and radio and stuff like that, I would have no idea that there was a hurricane that came through Louisiana and flooded and killed people in Louisiana if I'm in California. I'm clueless. So like even in ancient times, people were clueless to what was going on in other worlds and in other continents, in a sense, especially the New World.
Okay. How does this is another controversial question, my brother. How does this shut down the argument? Because you have, and this is no disrespect to people at all. I have Native American ancestry. I can actually prove mine because my family's done research. I'm actually a descendant of freemen. Okay. A lot of people talk about having Native American connections, but they don't have any true paperwork. They can't prove it through history. They didn't do any research. It's something that they feel, but I can in my family based on the geographical location that my family comes from. And then I know that Black people interacted sexually, in having offspring with Native people in certain parts of the country, not all. And I also know that there were Native American tribes that enslaved Black people too, especially your Cherokee Indian and things of that nature that people always want to brag on, right? But let me just say this. You know where I'm going with this, Chief X, the Aborigine. You have Black people who are now saying, we're not from Africa. No, that's not where we're from. You've been lied to. We are the original people that were already here in America. But what happened to us is that we were reclassified. And there has been research about this, Chief X, about were Black people reclassified to being something else and being put in another kind of category and our real identity being stripped of us. Now, there are Black people who just don't want to believe that they come from the continent. There are even Black people that will argue you down and say, hey, there were no slave ships, right? So once again, it creates more confusion because I believe when you are already a confused person, then all you can get is more confusion out of confused people. And I want to say, I want to be as respectful to people who actually believe that this is where we come from and we didn't come from the continent of Africa. But this is the argument that I make, Chief X, and I don't know if you agree with me or not. I've always believed that Black people are a global people. And I never got why people was arguing over religion. I'm a Muslim, I'm a Moor, I'm Moorish, I'm Hebrew. I never understood why we argue about where we come from when we come from all over the world. You can find Black people in many places around the world. So why do we continue to make this argument that, well, no, we come from North America. No, we come from the goddamn planet, period. But with that said, Does this bring home the point that maybe people who think that they were here as native people, they may not be factual themselves, or they may have been miseducated themselves, or they don't have a good understanding of the migrations? I don't know.
Yep. So, what you have is what they call the 5 civilized tribes,
Yes.
who basically, that's 5 tribes out of approximately 500 tribes, right?
Wow.
So people don't know that. So those 5 tribes became Americanized. They wanted to fit into American society. The other tribes didn't. They was out doing their things. So they began to dress like the European American. You know what I mean? They began to take on his ways and things like that. So you had the 5 civilized tribes, which consist of the Cherokee, the Choctaw, the other 3, who also practiced slavery and enslaved Africans. Okay.
Yes.
So they didn't, listen to what I'm saying, they didn't enslave themselves. They clearly knew the difference between them and the African or the free Africans that were here. Okay.
Right.
So they weren't enslaving themselves. Plus, Cherokees had in their laws that they weren't supposed to sleep with or have sex with African, or they would
See, I didn't know that. You
Right.
educated me on that.
or they would be banished from the tribe or outcasted. So it was a thing where the 5 civilized tribes, and mainly the Cherokee, is not supposed to be sleeping with their slaves or the enslaved. Okay. Now, things did happen. So you may have had some mixed mulatto babies, but it's more rare than people think. You understand? So the Cherokees, when slavery was abolished, took on what they had to free their slaves. So their slaves became Cherokee citizens. And some were given land. So they were Cherokee citizens. So these former slaves began to call themselves Cherokee because they were Cherokee citizens.
Okay.
But they weren't Cherokee by blood, by bloodline. You get what I'm saying?
Bloodline. Right.
So this is where the confusion comes in, with people thinking, oh, my grandmama said I was Native American. My grandmama said I was Cherokee. My grandmama, you know what I mean? That's where that comes in, because people became Cherokee citizens, but they weren't Cherokee by blood.
What you're saying is true. And the reason why I know this is because we're both in California. I ran into a woman, had a argument or disagreement. She was a lawyer. And the reason why we had a falling out is because she was a lawyer who was involved in the case against the freemen. And I took it personally because the native is for black people who want to run around and say, well, I'm Native American. Well, those native tribes, they not giving up no money to your black, you know what. They're actually suing the freemen, which are black people who are trying to make the claim for their ancestors that they deserve to be recognized and get the benefits that native people are getting. Well, guess what? Some of these Cherokee Indian tribes and many others, they're doing everything they can in a class action suit to keep our black you-know-whats from getting any benefit. So when we run around here talking about, ooh, I'm Cherokee, them folks don't give a damn about you.
Right.
And they ain't trying to share resources with you at all.
And to piggyback off of that, they required, because they're having a fuss about the money, right? So everything's about the money. So they required these African Americans, or those claiming to be Cherokee or what have you, to get a DNA test.
Right.
And, Dr. Rick Kittles, Dr. Rick Kittles, who owns and runs AfricanAncestry.com, has been the one doing DNA tests on these people.
Right.
And basically, they don't have Native American DNA.
Right. And
So it's hard for them to make the claim to get the money.
right. And
But
my
they
mother
are
for
on those roles
mhm.
as citizens in Cherokee. But again, it's not by blood. It's like by, you know.
Right. I know for a fact because my mother at one point in time she was involved. And let me say peace and thank you to Blue Jeans. Blue Jeans sent me a super chat.
Thank you.
I recognize that super chat, brother. This is what he said the first time. He says, keep the game alive. We can win in overtime too, brother. Then he sent me another super chat for $5 saying, it's always about the Benjamins. Exactly. And thank you for that super chat again.
Thank you for the super chat.
My mom was a member of what we call in California, this Black Native American Association. And for Black people who shroud themselves in this culture, when they're trying to get recognized, and I know this for a fact because it happened to my mom, they scrutinize you, especially if you're Black. And if you don't have the bloodline or if you can't prove your bloodline, they ain't got no love for you. And that's facts.
Tell the truth.
And I know that from first account of people that's a part of the association. So that's why before we get caught up in, well, I'm a native of this and I'm a Aborigine this, first of all, do your research, but understand that just because you want to label yourself something doesn't mean that people of that ilk are going to accept you. Now, let's clear something else up, Chief X. Let's break down the word Aborigine. Where the hell did that really come from? Break that down for us and educate some people around this damn place.
Tell the truth.
Yeah, I like when you tell the truth. I like that. So, a lot of people in this so-called conscious community, this woke community, and a lot of these people who feel that they were in Americas already, they'll use the term Aboriginal. I'm an Aboriginal, right?
Aboriginal.
Aboriginal is a term specifically, like in the world of academia. Aboriginal is a word specifically meant for original Australians, meaning the out of Africa theory says that the humans, when we talk science, we just use the word like humans and Homo sapiens instead of race and stuff. Humans left out of Africa approximately 75,000 years ago. And 25,000 years later, they reached Australia and the little islands around them. Okay. So they call those people Aboriginal people, like the Tasmanian people who went through the genocide, you know what I mean? And they tease the Tasmanian devil. Those Tasmanian people, those Black people in that island off of Australia who have this face that looks like an archaic human, you know what I mean?
Wow.
They have that original archaic human DNA, you know what I mean? So original Australians and Tasmanian and some people around the islands are, the word Aboriginal is for them only. It's not a term for white people. It's not a term for African people. It's not a term for Samoan people, Mexican people, Native Americans. But some Native Americans in Canada use the term Aboriginal, which means basically ab means from or from or away, some people say, or from the original, like from the original people who walked up out of Africa 75,000 years ago and eventually 20,000 years later ended up in Australia. Those are people they call who are from the original. African Americans, we're not original people. I know people say they like this and sound good, but we're not original peoples. We're admixed. We're a mutation. You get what I'm saying?
Wait a minute now. Let's stop the presses. Let's wait a minute now. Let's
Information
is power. Let's repeat that because this can be very disturbing to people to hear that because we have been used to saying that we are the original people. But what you're doing is you're taking it back even further because you said that the Aboriginals that we find in Australia have been around for what, or been there for what, 50 million years? Am I correct about that?
50,000, yes.
50,000 years to be correct, ladies and gentlemen. So are you saying that Black people, or those of us in America or the diaspora of the world, that we are an offshoot of the original people that came before even us?
Yeah, so like,
wow.
Aboriginal people, Australians and Tasmanian people, we are not genetically related to them at all.
At all?
Asian people are more related to Aboriginal people than we are.
Okay, but Chief X,
African Americans.
okay, but I got to ask this question. I got to say this though, brother. When I look at Aboriginals in Australia, I call them black people. When I look at their features, they do have features that are similar to ours, although a little different, but you can look at them and tell that they're black people. I
Right.
even talked to someone who's from New Guinea, or they look like they might be Polynesian, and they told me, what's that place? It's in the they said that
Solomon
their
Islands,
ancestors,
Pacific
yeah,
Islanders.
yeah. This lady told me, I said, you look very like you got African blood in you. She said, yes, our original ancestors came from Africa. That's why we look this way. I think in their national hairstyle is an afro. What is that place? Where is that place at? Somebody in the chat room help me.
Solomon Islands, maybe? Are you talking about Fiji?
Fiji. I think in Fiji, their national hairstyle is an afro, believe it or not. I'm not trying to
call them. Yeah, sometimes they call them Melanesians. And
okay, I'm not trying to be all over the place. Right. I'm not trying to be all over the place here, Chief X. I want to keep this concise, but they do have black looking features.
Right.
Like they are us.
Right. So to clarify, melanin in our skin is based off of the geographical location that you are in, or your people has been in for thousands of years. You know what I mean? So they're going to maintain their skin color and stuff based off of the equator and where they are geographically, or whether they're in tropical areas or whatever. So like people in Japan and China, they're not in like what we consider tropical areas where they would have maintained that. So when humans, Homo sapiens, left out of Africa, we met up with archaic humans, like archaic humans, like Neanderthals and not Homo erectus, but I'm just saying a Homo erectus would be an archaic human. So when you hear the words Homo erectus or Homo Neanderthal, the word Homo actually means human.
Human.
Right. So when you say Homo Neanderthals, you're basically just saying archaic humans. So when humans left out of Africa, we admixed with archaic humans in our genetic structure. As humans changed, we mutated, we went to different environments, had different diets, and we changed. So that's why you have the different races today and the different hair textures and things like that today. But the Australians and the Tasmanians who moved over there, they still remained in I guess a somewhat zone where you keep your melanin and where melanin is produced from the area you live in.
So then that would mean that the people in Australia who I as a black person, see, this is what we talk when we talk about worldview. My worldview as a black man in America, when I look at them from my worldview, I see them as a black person.
Right.
Their worldview may be a little bit different than me, how they see me.
Black, the term black is a social construct.
Is
in today's world or in America, and we use the term black. So we say black to anyone who we see as melanated similarly to us,
because that's our worldview. When historically people didn't identify themselves by color, they identified themselves by either tribe or a regional location, right?
Or your culture, right?
Or culture. So the truth of the matter is that you can make the argument that the people in Australia that we as black people in America identify as black, that they are the original people. They're the only ones that have the right to run around here talking about they original, and that we are just the children of these people. Is that correct? Is that telling the truth?
Tell the truth.
Scientifically, yeah, we're a mutation of the original man. So all humans today are just mutations, except the Aboriginals, because they kind of contain the oldest DNA.
I don't think I've heard anybody in the conscious community or anybody on these YouTube streets make this conclusion.
Right. But they know it. They just
not that they don't know it, but I don't hear it being broken down like that often. Right. Because the narrative is we come from the Egyptians. We are Egyptians. And, things of that nature. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to put my screen forward and show you something that's going to be very familiar with you before we conclude, brother. We have to get this in here. And let me go find it right now. This is the mummy that you talked about, because when we talk about the DNA and black people saying that Nefertiti was this or Cleopatra was this, I'm gonna put this on the screen front and center, and I want you to let the good people in the chat room and everybody listening out there
Real
break
quick, I
this down.
want to address this person in the chat. Someone says, "Was all of Africa once called Ethiopia?" Yeah. So Africa got its name like when North Africans and Greeks and Romans were interacting. Greeks and Romans they called anything sub-Saharan Africa Ethiopia or Ethiopia. So the land of the burnt faces. So anything sub-Saharan Africa was considered Ethiopian to the Greeks and Romans when they was writing in the records.
And they would often call black, or what we would call Africans. The Greeks had a name for them. They would always call them, you probably already just said it, Ethiopian. Matter of fact, let me show people this up here. I'm glad you brought that up.
They were talking about it. They weren't talking about Ethiopia as Abyssinia, the Ethiopia we know today.
Okay, right here, all black Americans were known as Ethiopians. All black Africans were known as Ethiopians to the ancient Greeks, as the 5th century BC historians tell these tales about this. Define the Greek artists in the. So this is the area that you just touch on, folks. And these little captions that I've been reading at the bottom are actually come from research. It ain't something that just made up out of thin air. Okay. So now let's go to this area. If you are prepared, let me take the screen front and center. Let me take that off of here. Let me go into here and put this right back up here so that you can explain what we're looking at. This was in your research, brother.
Now, I don't know if people can see the top left corner. This is Queen T, right? So yes. we've all seen Queen T, if they can see that picture clear. And yeah, they can see
yeah, it's very clear on the screen. Very clear.
The top left corner, you see her in what people have claimed for decades to be an afro. Okay, but it's not an afro, it's just a headdress. Okay, it's a wig. So you can see the two holes in the forehead, which is part of the wig. So they removed that. It's a headdress. It's not an afro, although it looks like. And then she's carved on wood and melanated. So people, oh, she's a black woman. Actually, it looked kind of like my mama, to be honest.
Right to the far left corner. I've seen this statue many times. Everybody look to the far left corner. There's a comparison picture. It does look like she has an afro. The far left upper corner. It looks like she has an afro, but this is the actual mummified remains of this queen. She was a queen, right, Chief X?
Yeah, Queen T.
That is her mummified remains, and look at her hair. Her hair is not woolly. It is not what we would call nappy, and it does not look like a afro.
So, like, when you get into science these days, a lot of these Afrocentrics today know that she didn't have an afro and know that it was a headdress or wig, but they will not admit it. They will not teach it. You know what I mean? So I'll teach it and I'll take the heat. You know what I mean? So
okay,
you can be mad at me because I don't have no problem being a truth seeker. But no, her hair was of Caucasian, of Caucasian peoples. Okay. So when I say Caucasian, I don't want people to get that. Like when I say Eurasian and Caucasian,
yes,
people confuse that with meaning European. So when I say Eurasian, I'm not saying someone from England and Germany. I'm saying someone from the continent of Asia and Southern Europe, and sometimes the Caucasus, like Turkey, is considered Caucasian in ancient physical anthropology.
Yes.
Arabs are considered Caucasian in that ancient, cranial anthropology. You know what I mean? I don't have
Right.
a problem with those old terms like Negroid, Caucasoid, but
Right.
people do have a problem with it. They say it's racist. I don't really have a problem with it because it's about categorizing.
Right.
So people want the categories to disappear so the lines that continue to be blurred. You know what I mean?
But Chief S, let me ask this question though. People in these ancient times, of course, we weren't there, but we know that race is a social construct, and people didn't run. People didn't run around. At least I don't think they did. Talking about, hey black, hey white. They called themselves by their geographical location, by their culture. They identified themselves by their culture and their landmass in that way. It's not into we live in this 20th century lifestyle that we begin to put people in these boxes called you're white, I'm black, you're Asian, and what have you. When people had tribal names to their land as well, people would just call you by the name of the land that you came from.
Right.
So this
Like
is the bottom line.
Nobody in Africa, and none of them countries like Kenya and Ghanaian, Nigeria, they don't call themselves black. That's just a thing. They'll say what tribe they are. Or I'm Kenyan. I'm Nigerian, but they don't say to each other, I'm black, because they're all the same. Why would they say that? You know what I mean?
And that goes to the worldview, brother. In the worldview, we as Black Americans and in this country, we're the ones that have been culturally conditioned to engage in things by labeling people by a color. And that's the reason why we can be caught up in the picture to the upper left of this corner of what we think is an afro, because in our worldview, being Black in America, anything that looks like an afro, that means the person got to be black. And this is the thing. Let's clear this up too, brother. Just because she doesn't have the typical Negro hair or the kinky hair, let me say that better, and that doesn't mean that this is still not a African, right, Chief X? Explain that.
Correct. So, like, sometimes people use the word African, but I like to distinguish a North African. You know what I mean? So the Tunisians, Algerians, and Egyptians, Libyans, they are Africans. They're just not Black Africans. So I use the term Black as a description. Like, I'm an American, so I'll say Black American, and the Black is a description. Like if somebody shot up a stadium full of people, oh, this American shot up the crowd. Everybody want to know what race he is. So as a description, they say, okay, he was white. He was a white American, or he was a black. He was a Black American. So Black is just a description.
Okay.
From my philosophy.
Okay. Let's go into this next one. And I don't know why I put this stuff on the screen, because I want you to go into this area here, but let me take this off of here. Boom. And let's take that off because I want you to explain this. This is about the Nubians, and you made a very good distinction in the video. And here it is, brother. Explain to people what they're looking at in terms of the art, the things that are hanging up on the wall. What are we looking at there on that picture?
This is artwork from a place in Egypt called the Nubian village. Okay. Now notice it's not called the Egyptian village. It's called the Nubian village. And this is some of the artwork and how they depict it. Like in ancient times and in modern times today, as you see, you can see the little people on the bottom, not just on the wall. When they did the artwork, they've always depicted themselves as pitch black like this. You know
pitch black.
Yeah, but there's Nubians, and it's just it's artwork how Romans, how Greeks, Egyptians, and Nubians themselves in artwork showed themselves as being pitch black like this. Not to confuse it with, like, you'll see pictures of Nefertari in Egypt, who was an Egyptian that's pitch black, but you also see pictures of her as pale. So Afrocentrics will always cherry pick the pictures and use the pitch black one of Nefertari. But that has a meaning in ancient Egypt. When it's pitch black, like the Lord of the Perfect Black, Osiris, it symbolizes death, fertility, or regeneration. So Osiris was the Lord of the underground, you know what I mean? The judge of the dead, you know what I mean? So represent death. And Nefertiti, when you see her in pitch black in Egypt, she's representing regentification and fertility in that art. So people confuse it and say, "Oh, black people." So I just wanted to differentiate that between these pitch black pictures and the one you see of Nefertari. But yeah, the Nubians. This is a Nubian village. It's not the Egyptian village. And
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a troll in the chat room. Here is the alert. Get him out of here. Brian put in there the mega makes Africa great again. Get him the hell out of here. Thank you. That's all I got to do is say that once. Get the trolls. Anybody that's trolling,
what do you do?
Get them out of here. I don't want to hear that nonsense, Chief X. I want him out of here. He's a damn troll. Simple as that. I don't play around on my platform. I have no tolerance. Just get them out so that we can do the business of knowledge here and understanding.
Empire Esquire say, well, you're gonna the blocketh is eternal.
Yeah. I could read through. He didn't come in here speaking about what was relevant to the conversation. He was trying to be funny using these Trump-et type of statements. And I just don't have time for that. I know exactly what that was. And I'm moving on. Let's come back over here to you. Let me do this and come back on the screen. I really appreciate you, brother, being here today. I don't want to take up all your time, but I think we do need to touch on this area right here. And hopefully the share screen will be working correctly. And we can get this thing going. This is what I want to do. I want you to talk about the pottery. And I'm going to put this up here. Hopefully this is going to work because it was giving me some trouble before we went on. And hopefully nothing will go goofy here. Let me see. Oh, should we do the Nubian village or should we just go to the pottery?
Either one, like.
I'm just hoping that this thing doesn't go haywire
on
me.
Just to explain, they have what they call a Nubian village in Egypt. A lot of people you see with kinky or nappy hair in Egypt are either immigrants or Nubians who were displaced. Okay,
let me go to the Nubian village then. I'm going to go to that first.
So the Nubian village started as a place for refuge for Nubians because of the dam that flooded. And it flooded their land, which made it inhabitable. And they developed the Nubian village as a place of refuge in Egypt for those Nubians. So like the further you go south in Egypt, the darker the people get because the closer you get to Sudan, right? So proximity is a thing. So they're such close proximity to the Sudanese, admixture takes place. So in southern Egypt, you'll see some Egyptians being darker skinned because of the proximity to Sudan.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this down. And so right here, there are some places that will have you craving for some of others that give you the dash of color. So this is the village right here. This is a Nubian village.
Yeah. See how you see the crocodile on the wall?
Yeah.
So the Nubians, they had an affinity for crocodiles, and it's used in a lot of their artwork and symbols because of the crocodiles of the Nile River. You know what I mean?
Okay. And you see, once again, this goes back to the points that you've made in your video and we're making today. It's about a worldview. In American society, we as Black Americans, given our understanding of our history here, things like crocodiles don't bring us any pleasure because they used to use crocodiles in caricatures where crocodiles were eating Black babies and that they would associate it as something negative towards Black people. But within Nubian culture, they don't have that worldview, ladies and gentlemen, in their culture. Did that make any sense, what I just said, brother Chief X?
Yes, I think they looked at the crocodile as sacred in a sense. You know what I mean?
And we, as Black people in America, we don't have that worldview, do we?
Nope.
And that's why we have to keep that in mind when we begin to look at how we look at the world. Everybody who looks like us has a different perspective and vantage point based on where they live, their culture, how they grew up, and how they see things. Nobody is value free. We all bring our own cultural conditioning to the table. Okay, here's some more pictures. I hope people can see this on the screen. These are very, I wouldn't mind kicking it in one of these little.
Right. I said, I'm gonna keep going to West or Central Africa every year, but for some reason lately, I said I'm going to Egypt. It's just to document some stuff. I do want to go to the Nubian village, and I want to show the Egyptian culture that you'll rarely see a black nappy head because it's 97% Egyptian.
Right. And there you have, once again, the crocodile on the wall that they look at as a positive symbol. But those of us in America may see it differently based on the history of how they portrayed the crocodile versus with black people, particularly black babies. I want to repeat that again. But this is interesting. I would love to kick it. Now, this is a museum or something, a depiction right here.
Yeah, I don't know if their artwork, like they made them into wax museum, like
right.
Or whatever, but it's just showing, the people.
Now, when you look at
them, a lot of them are Muslims, because
right, I was going to say that they have a Muslim type of energy to it.
Yeah, the Arab influence and the politically is Arab, even though genetically they're Egyptian, but politically they're Arab, and they've embraced Islam. Everything has been Arabized all across North Africa now.
Okay. And then here is and is this the Nile River we're looking at right here, brother?
I believe that is the Nile River.
Right, because obviously the Nubians lived around that river, and that river helped them in their survival in this particular region of the world, of the continent.
Of tropical and sub-Saharan Africans, the Nubians were the luckiest because they were along. Well, I don't like to use the word lucky. Or the most privileged because they lived along the Nile, which flowed through North Africa all the way down into, sub-Saharan Africa.
Did you know about the Nubian village of Egypt? Outlook, travel. This is interesting. Fantastic. So let me stop that right there.
Let's go on a trip, information man.
What'd you say, brother?
I said, let's go on a trip, man. Let's go.
Oh man, I have to do it. I got a passport, so I'm not one of these black folks who ain't got no passport, don't know my head from my left to my right. Let's do this, brother, before we conclude today. This has been a powerful stream, and I want everybody to share this stream. Thank you for coming over. We got House of X Entertainment. Rachel Rosenberg is in the house here. Gloria is just doing incredible work in there as a mod. Everybody, we got my man Omega Dreads Gaming channel in the house. People coming in a little bit here. We got Empress KIYA in the house. Peace to you. Libertarian Prince is in the house. I don't mind people coming over. Just don't be trolling. But for the most part, everybody in the chat room has been fantastic. Let me give you a clap. And where we're going to conclude here, ladies and gentlemen, is that I want to bring up the artwork. Let me ask you this question. I can't get you off this screen without this question. You're familiar with Tony Brown's journal, right? Obviously. Yes. We're about the same age, by the way, believe it or not, Chief X. We come from the same era, brother. I'll be 52 this November.
We're from the same school.
Right. I grew up off of Tony Brown, brother. Right. And you talked about in one of your videos about black fraternities and sororities that people talk down on it, but those are organizations that do a great job of networking and work in the community. Well, see, Tony Brown is a member of my brotherhood. I've been an alpha for many years, and I know some people get polarized by it. Oh, the Boule is taking over. I'm not taking over anybody. I'm not controlling anybody. But we do have a very powerful network, which allows us to do business with each other, to work together and what have you. People may see it as a negative or good or what have you, but we doing work out here. And what I wanted to say to you about that is that Tony Brown journal, because there was always this issue about why do black people call themselves Greeks? Because people, when they look at fraternities, they say, why you guys call yourself Greeks, right? And I don't call myself a Greek, but there was research in stolen legacies. Now, you may not believe this to be true, or anybody, that the words, the Greek letters, has some sort of origins out of Egypt in language. Now, maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But what Tony Brown Journal was saying is that there was Africans or a black presence in in Greece. They were in Athens, Greece. Once again, could be true, may not be true, that it was 300 BC that you did have what we would call black people in Athens, Greece, and that black people had some connection to that world. And we talk about Esau, who told fables, who they're saying that Esau was really a black man who had some connection to Greece. Now, maybe that's wrong, maybe that's right. Go ahead, brother, if you want to touch on anything that you are aware of around that issue, whether wrong or right.
I'm not well read on that, but what I will say is that for years I've told people that the so-called conscious community, at least woke folk, need to be more like fraternities and sororities, right? I don't have a problem with fraternities and sororities, and I was never one, oh, they are talking that Greek stuff, because that's not their intent. I judge people or groups, individuals, by their intent. You know what I mean? So I was saying that we need to be more like them, because Soros and frat brothers and sisters, they actually network.
Yes,
they
that's true.
actually, you know what I mean, raise funds and do things, and, you know, helping kids and youth, and they really out here networking and doing real things for the community and for
Right.
people. So the
And
conscious and woke community have always had this thing for people with credentials and degrees and who went to college, and push them back and talk shit about them and big up themselves. You know what I mean? So
right.
it's been this fight with conscious people and people with credentials.
Right.
They
Well,
teach,
see,
they talk differently.
this is the thing that's crazy, is that a lot of people that even the conscious community looks up to as their warrior or shiro, they are, if I was to do a stream, because I have a lot of information on this. If I was to do a stream, which I think I should do, breaking down how many of your favorite hero and sheroes that you like are members of these organizations, I'm going to drop a lot of people's mouths on the ground, your lips on the floor. Huey Newton was a member of Phi Beta Sigma. Paul Robeson was a member of my organization, Alpha Phi Alpha. Dr. King was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. Oh, I could go down the list and make all your lips
Dr.
drop to the floor.
Muhammad too.
Yeah, y'all like Khalid Muhammad? Well, he was a member. Y'all don't want to play. Y'all don't want to play. Look. This is what I'm saying. And I don't want to get too far off our subject matter. I'm a member of the first organization of that particular ilk. Guess what? The reason why they came up with Greek letters in the first place is because you got to imagine you're on a college campus. What we did is we tried to be covert with it. We wanted to make the white fraternities think that we wanted to be just like them, when in fact we had a whole nother mission. So you figure in 1906 at Cornell University, you couldn't just create a black organization. You had to be convert. I'm not saying it right. And so a lot of the reason why they use the Greek letters is to make the white folks think that we wanted to be like them, but we had our own rituals, our own way of doing things, our own language, what have you. We weren't even trying to be like them. Matter of fact, a lot of our organizations are heavy in Christianity and things of that nature. And I know you said that that's where the conscious community originally had their origins at, in Christianity. And when things didn't go right in that Christian doctrine, they said the hell with it and moved into other things like Islam, Moorish type of beliefs, and so on and so forth. I totally get that, brother. Totally get that. I judge people, Chief X, not by what they say, but what they do. So even if someone's a member of an organization and I say, oh, that's some boule kind of stuff. Okay. But I'm looking at what they doing.
Right.
If that person's doing some real stuff that's transformational for our community, then I ain't getting caught up in the boogeyman talk. You dig what I'm saying?
All this talking, you know, let's watch what a person does, not what they say, right?
Right.
That's why I say I always judge a man by their intent. You know what I mean? The intentions is good. Screw the
Right.
the petty stuff, you know. And by the way, like the Egyptians and Greeks and some of the people had written languages and alphabets, so maybe that was the reason. A lot of the African language didn't have a written language in ancient times. You know what I mean? So I guess they just kind of kept it standard. I don't have I've never had a problem with it. In fact, I told my son, he plays college football right now. I said he should pledge, but he's just not at one of those type of schools right now. But
This is the great thing about it.
I
And I'm
wanted him
not
I wanted him to be able to network with his
right.
friends,
Networking
who he
is
go to
very
school with, and
right.
they help each other with jobs, and it's a positive thing to me. It's just
Right.
hate from these other people.
Right. This is the thing about it, Chief X, and I'm not trying to blow a whistle here, but I can personally go anywhere in the world and I can find someone who's African in my organization because we're also international. I can find someone in my organization who looks just like me anywhere in this world. I can get in contact and say, I'm lost. I need help. That kind of a network is very powerful and and it's about building brotherhood and sisterhood. And just so you know, folks, you don't have to be a member of these organizations to still build a brotherhood. It does not make you any less. I'm just saying that joining an organization can also be powerful for you when it comes to networking with people who look just like you. That's all we're trying to say here. We're not trying to put down anybody who doesn't, even if you didn't go to college, you might have other knowledge that makes you a very important person. Now, Chief X, as we conclude here, let's talk about the pottery here, brother. I can move this around like this. This is the pottery. Explain to us exactly what you were talking about when you talked about pottery. Africans in ancient Greek art.
Yeah, so like in a lot of the ancient Egyptian art, sometimes you'll see that they took on Nubians as captives or prisoners of war or slaves. There's a debate: were they prisoners of wars, were they slaves? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whatever. Whether you're the Greek, the Roman, and the Egyptian depicted them this same kind of way as pitch black, the Nubians, in their artwork. You know what I mean? And most of the jobs and things that a Nubian or a Cushite would have had in Rome or Greece
Yes.
was more like a servant, even though they may not have been a slave per se, but they had low quality jobs, servant jobs and, hard labor jobs. And I mean, you may have a few outliers and things that became, a high politician and things like that, because it wasn't like, chattel slavery. But in general, the Greco-Roman world and the Egyptians didn't see the Nubians or the Ethiopian, the sub-Saharan Africans, they didn't see them in a good light, in my opinion. But
okay,
they did vibe and get along, and it just depended. It was different than it is now in today's racism. But you can't help but see that someone's different from you. I mean, they're not stupid.
facts.
You know what I mean? But there wasn't a high population of them in Greece and Rome. So the ones that were there, these are some depictions and how they drew them and seen them.
Okay, let me put this on the screen with the time that we still have left. And can you explain to people what this is all about right here that I have on the screen? Can you see that, or do I need to take something?
No, I can see it. So just in general, I think it's talking about the Butu Madi culture.
Yes.
I think these were some pre-dynastic cultures up and down the Nile and in North Africa. But like, the cattle, sheep, and goats, those animals came up out of Mesopotamia in West Asia into Africa.
Right.
So a lot of the pre-dynastic artwork, even like Narmer's palette, has Mesopotamian symbolism. Those West Asians was all up and down the Nile, man, for thousands of years and longer than what we actually think and what we actually teach about.
Okay. You also spoke of the fact that many different cultures, when they would make statues and various monuments or statues, that sometimes they would depict them in this sort of black color. And I know that sometimes when we see statues that look black, we will say, okay, that's a black person. But you were saying that a lot of these different cultures, even in Europe, they would make dark statues.
Right, right. So yeah, like Egyptian, specifically Egyptian artwork, when you see a pitch black figure, it's usually the black is representative of death or regeneration or fertility.
Yes.
But when Romans and Greeks do it, they just are depicting Ethiopians or sub-Saharan Africans. Um, and sometimes it can be considered like caricature. Like here in America, you teasing them and you're exaggerating their figures, you're exaggerating their lips and nose, and you're exaggerating their skin tone. You know what I mean? Yeah, so that's about it. But information, man, I started this whole journey and discussion and researching this, and
Yes.
people hate that I talk about this subject. They hate that I clarify shit. They hate that I go against revised history. But I did it because I seen it was just getting out of hand.
Right.
People are making stuff up. I feel it's disrespectful to be a culture vulture. Cultural appropriation, I just think is kind of wrong. You know what I mean? And I think it's disrespectful to the Egyptians for us botching up their history and telling them they not Egyptian, we Egyptian. How you gonna tell them? I was mad at Afrocentrics teaching. How am I? What am I doing? Listening to a Black American teach about Mesoamerican history. Why not go to a Mesoamerican scholar? And see how we do. So we're biased in who we study from also. You know what I mean? If I want to know about the Shanghai dynasty in Asia, why not go to a expert who's Asian about his own culture? Why am I going to Ivan Van Sertima to learn about another people's culture? You get what I'm saying? When there are plenty of Mesoamerican scholars teaching about their own culture. So when I go to Ivan Van Sertima, that means I'm being biased and I'm getting a biased understanding. You get what I'm saying? Your sound went out.
I muted myself, but I've been listening to you. But let me just say this: as humans, as part of our worldview and our biases, just in general, as humans, we're biased anyway. We're always going to put a little bit of our own gumbo yaya in the mix because that's just kind of who we are to a certain degree. But I dig what you're saying. Let me do this real quick here before we end. I know we've hit people with a lot of information today, and I hope that they will watch again. But check out his video. I put it in the chat room several times. Check out his channel. Mods put his channel in the chat room, and check it out. I put it out there a bunch of times. I'm going to do it again.
But you know why I did do it?
Yes,
because
sir.
I was calling for a debate for anybody in the so-called conscious community to debate me on Black or white Egypt. Nobody would do it because they're not confident. A lot of people know they've been lying and miseducating, so nobody wanted to take the debate. So I made several challenges. Nobody accepted in a couple months. So I said, hell, let me just do my own presentation. And I titled it Black Egypt Debunked by Chief X.
Wow.
And it's just to bring people back to reality. We need to actually get back to learning more about West Central Africa and stop being so much of an Egyptomaniac. You know what I mean? Come on home.
Right.
Come on home. The ancestors is waiting for you. That's where our bloodline is. That's our distant heritage is West Central Africa. We have nothing at all, never did have anything to do with North Africa at all. That is another people and another culture.
This is what we're going to do. We hit people with a lot of heavy information, and I put it in the chat room. I want you all to look at his video, the direct video that gives you that where he goes into more detail. But I think I got to be honest with you, brother. I think we did a great job today of taking what you did on your video and concising it down just a little bit because you got a full more detail in that. But I think we did a good job kind of giving a good
I think
summary.
so too. You did your thing. You did your research, and you made this show just what I call kicking that common sense science.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
And we didn't go too deep where we confuse people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't want
Good
to
teacher is able to make
confuse people.
message and information plain.
Making it very plain and simple. Now, before we get out of here, let me put this up here. I know you said you're not a big DNA kind of guy, but this was part of your research.
Right.
Could you just give people your brief understanding of the DNA situation here as it relates to the Berbers? Because I think that was part of your presentation.
Right.
Can you do that, brother?
So I was saying that North Africa has never been Black Africa. So I was showing images of North Africans. This image here happened to be a Tunisian lady. And we know Tunisia.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to put those images up. But go ahead, brother. I'm listening. We're listening.
You know Tunisia, yeah, she looks like a white lady, like if you can see the picture.
Right.
But we know Tunisia is a country in Africa. So
that's right.
She is African. She's just not a Black African. You know what I mean? So Tunisia has DNA from Southern Europeans who filtered down there. I don't want to say ancient, but just times in history years ago. So Tunisians are a little more pale looking than Libyans and Moroccans and things like that. So it's a deep history and genetics that people have to really go into to understand and study. It's just not as surface as we think. You know what I mean?
Okay. Now let me put
people in and out of different countries and areas over the thousands of years.
Okay. Let me put this one up real quick. This is the prehistory of Egypt, spans a period from the earliest human settlement to the beginning of the early dynasty periods around 3100 BC. Can you elaborate on that, brother?
Yeah. So what we say today that Egypt was, around 5,000 years ago, the beginning of it. So like when I said the Nubians ruled for 100 years out of 3,000 years, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's how long the dynastic period lasted, basically. Up until, the Romans and Arabs. So what I'm looking at, you see, the prehistory of Egypt spans from a period from the earliest human settlement to the beginning of the early dynastic period around 3100 BC, starting with the first pharaoh Narmer. So as earlier I was saying, Narmer came from Upper Egypt, which is in the middle between Nubia and Lower Egypt or Northern Egypt. So people used to say that Narmer came from the south, and they were trying to allude to him coming from Sudan, but that is misinformation.
I'm gonna take this off the screen here.
Yeah, he was an Egyptian, just like the rest of the Egyptians.
Okay. Let me say, if I could, peace to Carolina Duke. She's been following me and giving me great support. I love this sister. Peace to you. We got Hood Conservative who's coming to the house. And then we got my man Mind Eyes in the house giving me the $2 super chat. The $10 super chat. $10 super chat, brother. Let me give you a clap too, and everybody a clap in that chat room that's come in. We got Jay, we got Mind Eyes, we got Bernice, the beautiful Bernice, the Empire, KY. Why am I looking at my other computer when I can look right here and see all the great people? I got all kind of stuff jumping around here.
Somebody wanted me to address Amos Wilson, but
okay. Now, Nappy Yankee. This is what we're gonna do, brother. Maybe.
No, we can leave it alone. We don't have to. I'm just saying. Okay, I don't know what he's exactly referring to, but I did catch some heat for speaking on Amos Wilson one time.
Yeah, I think Nappy Yankee had told me that you had made some statements about Amos Wilson. Amos, that I think the conscious community did not like, and you caught some heat for it.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know if you care to elaborate. I don't want to put you, I'm not here to put you on any spot, brother. I don't want to put you on a spot, but if you want to elaborate and set the record straight, I mean, you're
So
more than happy to do so.
yeah, so people, a lot of people didn't understand the context. Okay, I was talking about ADOS at first, which is the
Okay.
American Descendants of Slavery, the reparations movement,
Yes.
and I was like, we didn't vibe, and everybody didn't vibe and get on board with that movement because they were more into personalities instead of the principle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they was focused on her and saying that she hated immigrants and that she was gay and all these red, black, and green, all these real hardcore pro-blacks was talking this shit. We ain't listening to no gay woman and this and this and that. And because she was a woman and because they felt that she was gay, that what she said didn't matter, or they couldn't learn from her, or they couldn't get any information from her because she was a gay black woman, allegedly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, so I was in a discussion in a post on Facebook with somebody, and it was like, I don't listen to no. I said, you full of it, because it's a bunch of people out here who may be homosexual or gay that you listen to and believe and has taught you. And I just so happened to, in the moment, throw out Dr. Amos Wilson's name. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, you believe and support and rep Dr. Amos Wilson, and Dr. Amos Wilson was gay, right? That was the context.
Okay.
Now, people got bothered with that and kind of came from me. But this is just stuff that I heard and I spewed out in a moment of being emotional and arguing with somebody on Facebook. But I wasn't talking about him specifically. I just brought it out because of that context and they were speaking about the women. But anyway, these were just the rumors that I heard growing up in the 90s in the conscious community. And people had said he didn't have no kids, he never had a wife, and there were rumors about him. So I was just mentioning to people that there's plenty of people who may be homosexual or gay that you have listened to and believed, and that can teach something. They're not just dummies because they're gay. So that was just the
Okay.
context. I wasn't trying to go in on Dr. Amos Wilson, but I can't literally prove it. But
Right.
that's just been the rumors around since early times. And since a lot of these people haven't been around in the 90s and they wasn't even born, they
Right.
just never heard it. So it was shocking to them.
Okay. Let me do this. I don't know what your time is like. One person, two people may want to come up and ask you a few questions. We may have time for Q&A, but if you don't have the time,
I got time.
then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop a link in the chat room, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody that wants to come up, Nappy Yankee, anybody who wants to ask questions, I ask that you be respectful, that you ask the questions based on the topic. Don't be jumping out of the window with nothing that we're not talking about, but come up and render your thoughts on this subject matter or any other questions that you want to pick his brain about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy a link and put a link right in the chat room. And anybody who want to come up and join and ask him questions, please do so. Now, we're not going to turn this into a shouting match. And if you have a difference of opinion, let's just say this. We all are entitled to our own opinion, but we're not always entitled to our own facts. So even if you have a difference of opinion, you can have a difference of opinion, but we're not turning this into a shouting match. No, it ain't going to be that kind of thing. I want people just to come up here and ask intelligent questions. You might be able to bring something. No, not you might. You may bring something to the table that both of us didn't even talk about, that Chief X may not be aware of. So we want to learn too. It's not about anybody being better than anybody. We're all going through taking this journey together and learning. So
And
I just put it.
And
Yes,
since
sir.
I'm a sincere truth seeker, I don't have a problem of standing corrected if I'm wrong about anything. I'll change in a minute. I change with the truth. So I'm open. I'm not biased.
So if anybody would like to come up, go right ahead and click the link, come up and have a discussion. Nappy Yankee, come on, man. This is a good time for you to come up, and maybe you want to ask a few questions too, brother, or you have a few things you want to get off your mind. I definitely appreciate it. Back to the basics. If you want to come up, don't be shy. You don't have to. You can, if you want to keep an avatar on, you're more than welcome to do that. I know some people are shy about showing themselves, and some people are not. Doesn't matter. You want to have the intelligent conversation while we still have the brother on here. I definitely will bring Chief X back for other subject matters. He's not a one-trick pony. This is not the only thing that he does. He has a business. We may want to talk to him about that. But now, this is what I want people to know about you. Because I've seen the video, brother. You helped a grocery.
Let me clarify something real quick.
Okay.
And I tried to say it as honest as possible. I clearly said I can't prove anything about Doc. You know.
Okay.
I said these were the rumors going around in my area. Now,
in your area,
right?
Okay.
I'm on the West Coast. I'm in LA. Now, if people don't know, the person who I consider my teacher is a guy named Mathu Attar. Mathu Attar is Ashrakwazi's peer. They grew up on the first trips with Dr. Ben to Egypt. So my elders were Mathu Attar, Ashrakwazi, who used to live in LA. Now he lives in Dallas. Steve Coakley.
Yes.
And the elders. And I'm just saying that was the rumors here from what they knew.
From your vantage point or your worldview in your state view.
These men I'm talking about were around Dr. Amos Wilson. But I didn't want to make a discussion about him. I just wanted to clarify that for people who
Dr. Amos Wilson.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So I don't have any proof, but those are just strong rumors. And I heard this from the elders. I'm not just making this up. You know what I mean?
Right. So Nappy Yankee is saying that having no kids or wife doesn't mean that you're gay, neither, vice versa. But understand what Chief X is basically saying is that that's what he's a little bit older. We're a little bit older. And when he was growing up in the LA area, and here comes my man Nappy Yankee. So just what I'm gonna do while you and Nappy Yankee, while you and Nappy Yankee have the conversation, I'm gonna step away just for 1 minute and warm something up for my young one so she can eat. But I'll be right back. Won't take me that long because I already have it pre-produced. So y'all have the conversation, brothers.
Nappy Yankee is cool cat. I don't have no problem with Nappy Yankee. We good.
Yeah, we don't have it. Here's what happened. I actually first heard of you when the whole Amos Wilson controversy came up. And I think that, because when you search on YouTube and you see people pop up. I mean, obviously a lot of us were deep in Sonetta, and you were an affiliate, I guess you can say that, of Sonetta, not like a guy who's on the West Coast and he kind of rocked with you until obviously things have gone a different route since then. But I did hear about that, and I think I caught the video where you were answering it, and the person who was most pissed off, I think, was Irritated Genie, where he stepped out and he was like, how are you going after the ancestors and what have you? So we don't know as far as that's concerned. I mean, if that was true, that would have come out a long time ago. I know there's this other dude, his name is not coming to me right now, but it's an African name, who is gay. But yeah, just because he wasn't married and didn't have kids, doesn't mean he was gay. I mean, to me, he just kind of worked himself to death. I mean, what's her name? Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She didn't have any kids. So, and there's a bunch of dudes who have full wife and kids who are, basically touch their toes behind the scenes. So I think that's a bad, that's a bad way to judge whether a person is or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I wasn't judging on him based on that. I was just judging. You know what? Because I wasn't even really having the conversation about him. I was just trying to tell you how the combo started from a Facebook post and me saying something in the comment. Then other people took it too far and went off into directions and act like I was having a discussion about Dr. Amos Wilson when I really wasn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just wanted to throw that out there in the moment. So I was kind of forced to make a video, and I kind of apologize for even
No,
bringing.
that's cool.
Right.
I mean,
I
I
apologize
like
for even bringing it up, but it
right,
was just
like
based off of what some trusted elders had told me.
oh, I mean, you know what? Unfortunately, a lot of dudes in the conscious community, and I hate to say it, they just have a very high school mentality
Mhm.
where they just, oh well, they just throw things out there. The best example, Tariq Nasheed, who's just a grifter. I don't even think he's in that community. And to be quite frank with you, I think he touches his toes.
Yeah,
Okay, and
he's a grifter for sure.
he's a grifter, and I think that he may, play both sides. To be quite honest with you, and I'm not the only one who said that. So, that right there, I think that that's wrong. As far as Yvette Carnell, I'm not ADOS. I'm not the fund my bank accounts movement either. One thing about you, for the most part, is that you are, you know, like you attack pretty much some of the same people that I attack. Like some people may like Umar, but they despise Tariq, and they despise Jay, but they like Polite and what have you. Across the board, I don't deal with any of these cats, and like right across the board. And I think it's good that you go after a lot of these dudes. Um, Let me also say this too regarding this Egyptology thing. Um, I haven't really studied that much of Kemet, but let's just be honest. Most people don't want to be associated with a Kunta Kinte looking ancestor. And whenever I see the Kemet that's promoted, most of those people are lightened skinned or damn near white. All right. And a lot of us, unfortunately, are very, very just, I think we just want to move towards that, to be quite honest with you. We want nothing to do with our skin color. And I think you saw that come out with both ADOS and FBA attacking. It was mainly FBA, if you want to be honest about it, who were attacking the Haitians and go on these very xenophobic attacks against anybody from the continent or the Caribbean. But most of them look dark skinned, and they look like they are, the originals from the continent. And when you see people like a Tariq, promoting his light skinned wife and fully white, extended family, and all these other things that these people promote, I think that they move towards Egypt because the people there don't look like or represent the darkest people from the continent. Would you agree?
I totally agree with that.
I I really think like they don't want to look like they don't want to be your complexion or mine or what have you. And I think that it's a good conversation to bring out and to point that out. I didn't hear the whole stream just now, but I think that in essence, the whole Egyptology. And I'm noticing that across the board, a lot of us are color struck and we're just moving away. And it's something that's pushed down our throat, especially through pop culture and a lot of these guys that we worship. We'll worship like a Kanye who's married to a full white woman. We're bumping up Jeezy, okay, because he's dating a white Asian and so on. And what that's doing is just, you know, it's basically evaporating our race. And I think that we have to go back to something like that. And lastly, I know I'm kind of rambling here.
Okay.
Yvette Carnell, okay? Listen, the ADOS movement, as far as I'm concerned, is a dead movement, man. And your leadership is awful. I don't think that they've been pushing for reparations at all. She got off the internet and gave a lame excuse that, oh, well, my equipment's broken. Tone didn't go to this last ADOS conference, which, said I had a teeth procedure, then turns around out. He does a full live the next day. I just think your leadership is bad and they're not interested in reparations or anything like that. I mean, when have they even met up with a legitimate lawmaker? As a matter of fact, at this ADOS conference, I don't know if you saw it, okay, but they had white people there, fine, but it's not like those white people were billionaires or major lawmakers. They were just like white friends. And
Mhm.
I don't think that those white friends were really interested in reparations. The fund my bank account movement, forget about it. You already know what that dude. Forget him. Forget him and those other dudes who are down with that. They just want to be entertained. But the ADOS movement was supposed to be about something. And if you look at her recent tweets, she is still pushing the xenophobia, bro. She still pushes that. And
Well,
she's a woman who's pretty damn near white herself. I mean, she said it herself.
well, I'll say it this way because I know a lot of people, even possibly Information Man show. As brothers, we don't agree with each other 100% on everything.
Right.
Right.
So, and that's okay. Um, as far as ADOS and xenophobia, this is one thing I was trying to clarify because people, majority of people were putting these labels on them. So I had to make videos showing Yvette Carnell, actually saying that she loves the Africans in the diaspora.
Mhm.
And she showed her DNA test showing that she's like 60 something percent West
Mhm.
African.
Mhm.
She said she didn't have a problem with any West Africans or immigrants at all. And she supports them all.
Mhm.
She said she supports CARICOM, which it's a reparation movement for Jamaicans. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in return, they should support our movement, which
Mhm.
a lot of Jamaican Americans were not.
Okay.
Um,
I
uh,
do, not to cut you off, but I think that I fully, you deserve reparations, and I even gave a figure that the bottom line, the base reparation you should get is 500 quadrillion, and the height should be up in the sextillions. SEX. No, I'm not joking, bro.
right,
She
right, right.
said herself that it takes longer to heal a wound than it is to inflict it. That's one of her catchphrases. Okay, they should give you land. Now, obviously, this is going to be tough to do.
But
And go ahead, go ahead.
let me just clarify this thing about Yvette though before you go on.
Mhm.
Um, go ahead, real quick. Hello.
Okay, so yeah, that's what she said. So sextillions means 21 zeros after the one. Okay, and I've always said that with reparations, you're not going to get it without separation and bloodshed. I think that you should get property down. I just think you should get some states. That's how I feel. But some of these people don't even want me to comment on it. Like, stay out of ADOS business. Blah blah blah.
Let me
And go ahead.
so let me tell you why people thought or feel that what's the word again? What's the phobic word we used?
Xenophobic.
It's xenophobic, right? So ADOS is the founders is Yvette Carnell, who worked on Political Hill, so she has some knowledge of politics, right?
Right, right.
Um, Tone of Tone Talks is a real lawyer up out of UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
So he understood the legalities of reparations. They studied the reparations movements previous, and as an attorney and as her working on Capitol Hill, they figured out that reparations movement and advocacy has to be made in a certain kind of way, and it cannot be made and go down and be approved with immigrants. Because if you bring a case including immigrants or people who are not Black Americans or African Americans, in the court case it would get shut down because America is not responsible for anybody except those who were in those cotton fields of America doing the free labor.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to explain to people who were wondering about immigrants and other blacks who caught hell in America that it's more so about the free labor and things we missed out on in American slavery.
Right.
So they had to clarify and let them know that Jamaicans' beef and issue is with the Brits. We can't include Jamaicans in the American slavery's court case.
Right.
So everyone has their responsibility, and America is not going to pay out no reparations to people who weren't in those cotton fields of America. So those are immigrants, like Nigerians, like they had nothing to do with American slavery. They had nothing to do with being redlined. So they had to explain that to people as a lawyer in her working on, but people didn't get it. So they took it as being xenophobic, when it was really an explanation to let people know how reparations movement can go down. Now, it fell off now because of reparations advocacy is usually only good and worthwhile during a political election season.
Right.
To get the politicians on your back or on your side to be talking about it. So nobody in America was talking about reparations until ADOS came out, except the older group 20-something years ago, and they don't even have a social media presence. They in Cobra, if you go to their social media page, their YouTube page, they got like 100 people. They're not even, these older cats are not. So ADOS had to revamp the advocacy movement. So they're just an advocacy movement. They're not politicians. They're not lawmakers. They're just advocating. And they were hoping that all Black Americans like you, I mean, I don't know if you're Black American.
No, I'm not. Well,
Okay.
according to them,
they were hoping that all of us got on their team and helped advocate it for them. So since we didn't all do that, that's kind of like our fault, not the founders' fault. You get what I'm saying? We didn't get on board because we had certain personality hangups.
Right.
And we got away from principles.
Let me say this if I could. We got to stop getting caught up into personalities and people who are so-called leaders. Reparations is the responsibility of all of us who want reparations. We have to do the work. Tone Talks and Yvette, although they've been the face of ADOS, look, I've been in the struggle for reparations way before they were even thought of. I've been in the struggle for a while. I go back to when I was in high school, signing petitions and what have you. So it is a battle that we're battling. If we don't get the reparations, we're battling it for our children, our grandchildren, and children to come down the generations. So it's about focusing on a singular history. I'm just going to say this straight up. I notice the years that I've been on the earth, that every time Black people in America have something that we want for ourselves, everybody's got a goddamn problem with it. Yet, when Africans in the continent of Africa are fighting for their land, whether it be South Africa or anywhere, or even our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean who are part of CARICOM, as he said, who are also suing Great Britain, who are also at the United Nations not too long ago, Nappy Yankee, when I talked to you about this before, and you're aware of this already, all these African nations were there at the United Nations. And guess when they were there? They weren't talking about Black people in America. They were talking about their particular country. They were representing their particular country and tribe. They weren't talking about, we want reparations for the Black people in America. They had their representatives there, and we had to have our representatives there to represent. However, Joe Biden wasn't there in his administration. Nobody showed up. And remember, Nappy Yankee, I said that all the countries that would be responsible for paying the money to all of us in the diaspora of the world, none of them were there. Great Britain wasn't there, none of them, because they're all in denial. So what I say to you, brother, and everybody, is that we got a commonality. None of these European countries want to break off that bread. That's why they didn't show up to the United Nations. So that means that we do have a commonality in this fight. We should unite in that way, but recognize that my fight in America is a little bit different than someone in Jamaica or in the continent in terms of what happened to us geographically. That does not mean I have a problem with brothers in the diaspora. I have no problems at all. Where I do agree with what Nappy Yankee is saying is that I think the ADOS movement needs to steer itself away from this whole we separate from you and just say this is, well, in general, they have been saying that, but I think people have taken it that way that, oh, they're trying to separate themselves because they're talking about a specific area of our history between slavery. And then, of course, people are going to say, well, how you going to know who's a slave? Wait a minute. You don't even have to deal with slavery. You could talk about Jim Crow. I got a great-great-grandfather who got his business stolen from him. So my family can make a claim on many of my family members on both sides, my father and my mother's side, who were victims of this Jim Crow system. I'll stop right there. So we have more in common than we have in discommon, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, just to add to that, I'm gonna be real brief.
I know I'm long-winded.
Like, so Yvette's thing was immigration and women and immigrants being included with African Americans in their reparations or anything they're seeking. So, so what she's trying to lay out that we are a separate and special subgroup in America. And when she speaks on immigrants, she has to include them all, from Mexican immigrants to Nigerian
Tell the
immigrants,
truth.
to all the immigrants. She has to include that and give people the understanding, because everyone is pushing, well, why are you separate? She says it's not going to work in this court case. So in general, her thing was immigration is harmful for Black Americans in the sense that if, like, Biden and all these people want to let 100,000, 1 million immigrants in, that's actually and literally going to hurt, like, my daughter and son's chances at jobs.
Right.
Well,
Make the competition stiffer for mine. So she stands on her immigration stand.
Right.
Where others, we may be more lackadaisical and be like, okay, later, we don't care about the consequences later.
Right.
Well,
actually, before you speak, Nappy Yankee, I did a video on my channel and I did research on this. It is true. Immigration is going to impact Black people in America. But check this out. This is what they don't tell you. It's not necessarily the immigration of the African or the Caribbean. It's the Latinos and Asians will actually be the largest population, even beating out the Latinos. I saw the numbers going into 2050. Some of us may not even be here to see those years to come, but it is going to change. And Black Americans or Black people in America will be a permanent, I don't like this word, minority amongst minority groups. And I don't like that word at all, but I have to say that to make context here. Nappy Yankee, there you go, brother. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say this. I'm going to let Aaron Collins speak because I know he's been waiting to Chief X. And let's just keep it real. This whole xenophobic thing, it was really ramped up when you got that scumbag pimp, who just basically threw a monkey wrench and everything. So let's just, I'll be fair about that. But the one thing, the two things that they don't, that the ADOS never mentions, all right? Because I was born here, but my whole family's from somewhere else.
Okay.
You guys never talk about the triangular trade. You never even bring that up, where, basically goods and services and slaves were transferred all throughout that time. So you don't know who's from where. No one brings that up at all. All right. And, I was going to say something else, but as we were speaking, I had gotten an update from another guy who's been on ADOS's neck in Haven Bullets, who basically said, who's been keeping up with this, Tone took off ADOS off of the title on his Twitter. And yes, he took off ADOS off the title of his Twitter and only tweeted about the conference 3 times. And I had predicted this in my last video about those two are probably going to break up. I'm not trolling them. I'm just saying it's happened with Yvette a few times with a few men. And Tone, who has not been fighting against, with this whole museum crap that Tariq is doing, Tone is there in LA. He should have been saying something about that, and explaining how that hurts Black Americans. He took $1 million and he's not going to do anything with it. And he's basically pimping us like Umar is. So I just found it interesting. But yeah, Haven Bullet's been on it. And back to what you said, Information Man, about Jim Crow.
Yes.
You don't even have to go back there, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I just did a video about that Tennessee judge who literally is ruining Black lives. This is happening right now. You can throw this in with the USC school scandal. You don't even have to. If someone says, well, slavery happened back then, okay, that's fine. Look at what's happening right now in present real time.
Yes.
That woman destroyed. You know that those she put bogus charges on a bunch of 8 and 10-year-olds, and that will take forever. So they already are in the system before. They were like literally arresting 8-year-olds. So they're in the system before they even hit puberty. All right. That is what is happening right now.
Yeah.
And that and I looked around, and none of these ADO sites, none of them, you don't even speak about. You should be doing series on top of series. That's a small town in Tennessee, but that's happening all throughout America. And that's what I mean when I say your leadership sucks. Because you should be speaking about that every day.
Check this out. I'm going to agree with Sonia C. She says ADOS is stronger than Yvette and Tone, meaning we have to look at ourselves in the mirror. If they fall off and they no longer want to take any lead, then it's on us as individuals, because they can't do anything without the collective anyway. When you look at our leaders, women or men, they could not do anything unless the collective of the people rise up. So whether they fall off or not, we got to pick up the baton as individuals and keep it going, whether they're here for it or not at the end of the day. So this is why I agree with Sonia C's statement. Real Aaron Collins, you want to add to the discussion, brother, as we want to add to it, brother?
And it don't have to be about ADOS. We was talking
it could be. We just happen to get on that subject, but go ahead, brother. It could be about anything. It'd be about the presentation today.
Yeah, and I'm going to step down, by the way, but thanks for having me up. Chief X, keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate
you.
I appreciate it. You do support me, and I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And Aaron Collins, be good, bro. Absolutely.
All right, Yankee. I appreciate you too, brother. Thank you. All right, Aaron, what you want to, and we don't have to be on that subject matter. Hey, brother.
All right, man. I'm just listening to you brothers speak. And matter of fact, Nappy Yankee mentioned a brother I haven't heard in a long time, Haven Bullets. He was on there next. I remember that. But I just want to just mention that no matter what all these groups we come from, and once again, Chief X, I appreciate your knowledge, brother. You took on a whole new take of what we've been taught so far. But the truth of the matter is that whether we be from the Caribbean or from the continent or from America, phenotypically and I guess genetically, we're still the same people. We're going to be looked at the same way regardless. Now, culturally speaking, I get it. We are different, and maybe other groups know how to handle themselves better. Like, I think we could learn a thing or two from the Haitians, how they defended themselves against the colonizers of their time. As Black people in America, so many of these groups have been able to capitalize off of our gullibility. And I've heard you say it so many times, Chief X, and you're right. And I think, Info Man, you've even said it, that how we just want to cling to something so bad that we believe anything. See, we came from this and that. And that thing, the way you broke down the Egyptians, that was like, you just literally hurt somebody's feelings with that one. But it's true though. So,
and because sometimes our people can be emotional, people will hear this presentation and they're going to say, "I'm unsubscribing." I mean, I'm just telling the truth, brother.
Yep,
I'm just telling the truth, and that's okay, because I can't. You're not going to make everybody happy, and this is the thing. People need to understand this on this particular this particular channel here that I have. That's the reason why I call myself Information Man. We're going to talk about everything, not just the stuff that make you feel good, but we're going to talk about stuff that you may not be ready to want to hear. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the goddamn ugly, all right? Yep. I mean, come on now.
Information is power.
That's real talk right there. And you know what? I want to mention that how I think this whole so many of these woke people. I mean, I'm like, okay, everyone says they're woke, yeah, but you're also broke, and in this society,
Right.
you considered a joke. So
Right.
that's
Right.
pretty much how that is. So
Right. Let me go ahead and say shout out Sheldon, who gave me the $5 super chat. He says, "Love the show information, man. Keep doing what you're doing." And let me hit this for him.
Thank you for the
Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that, brother, a lot. So that's what we're going to do. I think at this point in time, it's time to conclude. I've had brother Chief X up here for a long amount of time. I'm sure he's got other things he needs to do or he wants to relax.
Yeah, I got beef with the real Aaron Collins right now. Because he ain't subscribed to my page.
What?
You didn't subscribe to my page.
Oh no,
yet.
I'm gonna get you. I'm most definitely.
Aaron, you didn't subscribe to his
I won't
page,
get
man.
You.
Oh man,
I won't get him, man. Don't get me. Hey, we all in California together.
We're gonna do a live stream about you.
Yeah,
this brother Aaron Collins, he ain't even subscribed. What's wrong with you?
No. It ain't the first time someone did a live stream about me. It won't be the first time someone's done live streams about me.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and do this.
Information, I do like that. You when you do have guests, like we can get on here 3-4 brothers, whatever, and we don't have to argue.
No, I'm not into that. Now, I've done enough arguing on YouTube and other sectors of YouTube, and I've had enough of it. It don't get you nowhere. It's not fruitful, and you're arguing and getting a headache, arguing with Negroes that's 3,000 miles away from you or something. Let me just say this. I don't like saying, give me your last words, but what I always say, Chief X, is give me your great words. So I'm going to put you center in front as we conclude and let you give the closing statements of today's program, based on you on the fact that you've been an incredible guest here today, and you're welcome here anytime. And I am going to have you back to pick your brain about other subject matters. Matter of fact, I need to let everybody know this about you. I seen the video, brother. You can't hide from me. You did a video where you helped a grocery store, a black grocery store, and you brought a lot. Gavin, the video got a lot of views, and in turn, it helped this store, a black-owned store. Is it in the South Central area of LA?
It's in Compton.
In Compton. Okay, let me say it correct. With his video, in the promotions of it, he drew a lot of black folks in the community to support a black grocery store that's black, completely black-owned. Talk about that, Chief X, before you leave us.
Yeah, so you probably have heard it because the video got like about 20 million views, right? So it was a lady. I went to the grocery store.
Stores on Rosecrans.
Yes, Rosecrans and Central. Where you from?
He live in LA.
Oh yeah.
Originally from Chicago, though.
I'm originally from Chicago, but I live in LA though now. I've been living in LA for the last 8 years.
The Cali life. Compton. Look, when you do this, that's Crip, but when you do it with both hands, that's Compton.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, so I went shopping at this grocery store, and there was a black lady in there, and I was like, "You own this store?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's a franchise." And she bought it, and they gave her a franchise, and she was running the store, and I was like impressed because I never seen a black-owned grocery store, not a liquor store. I never seen a black-owned grocery store. So I said, "Sis, this is impressive. I'm going to come back here tomorrow, and can I interview you? And I'm going to share it everywhere. You need to go viral. People need to know about you because the people in the city didn't know about it. The mayor of Compton didn't say nothing. I mean, you know what I mean? So I did an interview with her, and we walked around the store, and I was showing it's a full-blown grocery store, and it's been in Compton and LA. Everybody needs to come here and shop, and we need to blow you up. And I came back after the interview, and I shared it everywhere in all these groups. And this video took off, got 3 million views. 3 days later, Nation of Islam members start contacting me, and Minister Tony Muhammad met me up there, and he brought the whole mosque up there, and we just shopped there that day and did a whole promotion thing. And now the entire city of Compton shops with her and keeps it running and employed. And I was proud of myself, and I did this with a beauty salon also. So it's just part of me doing community work. I'm not on YouTube running my mouth about it a lot, but I do community work. You know what I mean? I've been in the community. I've been self-employed. I'm a business owner myself. So I believe in promoting Black business. I'm about Black power. That doesn't mean I'm a racist. It just means I'm about empowering my own people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was a good deed, and people to this day still praise me and hit me up about it.
Okay. Chief X, we're going to conclude now, but anything related to the subject matter today that you want to say to the people out there as we conclude?
Yes, so we're concluding. I really appreciate you having me on and us having this honest discussion. And like I said, what people need to understand is I'm a sincere truth seeker. I'm not a belief seeker. I'm a truth seeker, and I'll change when I come into more information. And I just want people to be about truth and learn true history, not revised history. I want people to have proper health information and not listening to these quacks and these fake herbalist doctors out here miseducate you from having more professionals so we can be on point on the world stage. Because on the world stage, you have people looking at us and listening to us. And we out here sounding ignorant, sounding stupid, teaching a bunch of falsehoods, fake history, fake health information, And I just want to be looked at as a people who has respect, a people who is proud of their West Central African origins. You understand me? I think we are talking about other people's culture other people's histories way, way too much, and putting our history, our real history, on the back burner. And when I went to Ghana, it just really, really set in. It was a few times I was in Ghana and I had broke down crying. Like when I went to the orphanage, when I seen they didn't have plumbing, and I seen these kids had to use the bathroom in places that just smell so horrid that you can barely, you know what I mean? Just me, and I can barely smell. I mean, not barely smell, but the smell was killing me, and how
Right.
these kids were living, and how I understood. And when I asked the question, do these kids get help from the government? The government doesn't give these help. They live off of philanthropy, and people like me and us who go visit in Ghana, they live off of donations. And
Yes.
I'm like our kids here in America who don't have parents are in group homes. They're getting food, clothing, free college, and stuff like that. The government takes care of them, but the government don't take care of these kids in the orphanage in Ghana.
That's right.
And we need to understand that. So when we spending money traveling, I feel that we should be giving money and traveling and donating and showing philanthropy to places where we come from, West Central Africa. We need to get back on that. We need to have respect for our ancestors. We need to get our pride back and have some self-esteem and stop trying to claim other people's histories and cultures just because you think in your head it's sexier. You get what I'm saying? So I mean no harm. I've gotten canceled. People got mad at me for all this talk and stuff. But my intent is good information, man. My intent is good. I mean no harm. I only mean, I'm a righteous brother. So I
Right.
just want our people to learn and evolve mentally and
Right. I
spiritually.
just think that I think we've been cultural conditioned in so many different ways, and once we begin to get the information that is supposed to make us feel good emotionally, when we hear scholars or so-called activists or so-called conscious people fill our heads up with we are Egyptians, or that we as if we come from Egypt, I think that has made Black people psychologically, I work in mental health, psychologically, to make us feel good about ourselves, because as well as we all know that Black people have always had a complex, whether it be our color, our shade, our hair, our noses. And so this is why it's difficult for us as a people to hear anyone, Black or white or any race, give us a different perspective that doesn't jive with the perspective that was taught to us that made us feel good. This isn't about feeling good. It's about about history, real demographics, real geography of the world, real ways that people evolved and traveled around this world, and how cultures evolved. And this does not mean that the people in that northern part of Africa are not African. It just means that there are many different features, eyes, hairstyles, looks, and cultures within the continent of Africa, which is what makes Africa very vibrant, because it does have all these different types of people and cultures. And I think at the end of the day, people need to or should realize that and understand that. And the truth of the matter is, we can still celebrate the achievements of the ancient Egyptians or the Kemet or what have you. We can still be proud of that because it is part of Africa. But let's not forget to look at the achievements of what happened in West Africa. I think someone in the chat room said earlier, Chief X, that there were pyramids in West Africa. There are many incredible things that people have done in the continent that we don't tend to talk about because we are so Egyptian oriented. And we gotta see the continent of Africa as more than just the pyramids of Egypt. That it's a bigger story to be told and to be learned. So with that said, everybody, I want to thank everybody in the chat room. I want to thank Brother Chief X again. Give you a clap, brother, for being here again. Appreciate you. Aaron Collins, thank you for coming through as you have, brother. Thank you again. Chief X, I salute you again with a clap. Everybody, check out his channel. Subscribe to his channel. Check out the Chief X. It's very simple. You put Chief X in a search engine, pow, it's going to come right on up. But I do have the link to his channel in the description of this video. Give him some love. The brother is deep.
And my business website is CBD.
Oh, yeah.
My business website is cbdhemplife.com.
Okay, right. That's right.
cbdhemplife.com. I work in the cannabis industry in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in the cannabis industry, whether it's CBD, Delta 8, or the real shit.
Right. Okay.
Oh, snap.
All right. So everybody check out the Chief X.
I ship everything.
Okay. He ships everything, Chief everybody.
Next time they give you a hard time. Hey, next time they give you a hard time, Chief X, all you gotta do is just tell them you're from the CPT and sea walk on them.
Right. I just take my medicine and tell them,
Okay, everybody. So Chief X, I'll be talking to you soon. And Real Aaron Collins, I'll be talking to you soon, brother. So take care of yourself. Thank you. I appreciate everybody coming over.
Brother.
All right, brother. Take care of yourself. Peace to you. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Let me go into the chat room. I want to appreciate everybody that's come through today and had an open mind. I know this was difficult. I know there's some people who did not want to watch this particular video, or maybe they didn't want to, they weren't open to it. They didn't believe what was being said. All you have to do is take everything that was said today and you can do the research on your own and you will come to this conclusion. I'm going to say it again. We're not saying that Egyptians were not African, but not all Africans are what we call dark, kinky-haired Africans. There are different people with different hair textures and features in the continent of Africa. You have to keep that in mind. It is not a country. It is a continent that is made of many different countries. And within those different countries, you will have people who look a little bit different than other people within the countries. Different features, different shades, maybe similar shades, different hairstyles, different textiles that they wear in terms of the clothes that they wear, different foods, different customs, all sorts of different way of life. And remember, we as Black people in America, we have a worldview from our perspective living here. They have a worldview from where they live and how they see us. Just keep that in mind. As I go into the chat room right now and say goodbye to everybody, we got Kiki05. We got Cherry in the house. Thank you for coming over. I think this is uniquely, I don't know if I'm saying your name correct, but I'm going to put you on the screen here. saying catch the replay. Thank you, sister. Thank you for coming over. I appreciate you. This is somebody from Facebook that's come over saying this is truth info, man. This is a face. Still in the back room there, but I've got to take over here. Sorry about that, folks. I got StreamYards sometimes has a lot of problems. It's crazy. StreamYards will just kick you right off your own stream. It's crazy. They got to fix this. We got Sonia C's in the house. Thank you for being here. She's saying sound. Let me make sure the sound is working. Testing. Oh, my sound is okay. The sound is okay. You can hear me just fine. I just got cut off. I'm sorry about that. I am always down for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This is Mickey Bricks 2.0 from the UK. I've heard those in North Africa are descendants of the Golith, and this is someone coming from Facebook. Appreciate that coming over from Facebook. I am live on Facebook. I am live on Twitch as well. Natural, what's up to you? Let me read what Brother Keith said. As always, great session, information man. Thank you for the information. People introducing me to Chief X. More Black independent media needs to uplift each other. Yes, we do. We need to uplift each other and stop fighting each other. So everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat room. Back to the basics. Thank you for being here again and supporting the program. Really appreciate that. Let's go up. And we got Chris CC. We got my brother, Sir, that's came in the house saying great build. Sir, thank you, my brother. We're just doing the best we can over here, working through all the technical problems with StreamYards. And I'm actually streaming through or using another software to go into StreamYards, and StreamYards always seems to have some issues with it. We got Sister Murray here saying, giving some love to Brother Keith. Real Aaron Collins, thank you for coming over again. We got Miss Latoya Thompson saying much you love. She's in the house. Good to see you. RY, good to see you too. Let me see. Carolina Dukes came through saying great show, information man, and Chief X. I really appreciate all the work you put in. Thank you. And I'm going to get ready to get out of here. I know that people have dropped off the stream because there's a lot of other streams going on that people are watching. So I'm going to get ready to get out of here and do what I do always best and give you the closing music. This sister right here, let me put her on the screen. This sister right here, love your channel too. She says great live wellness with Mama. I love your channel. I am subscribed to your channel too. Thank you all that you can hear me. This is a, let me just tell you something, folks. I really enjoy doing these streams and seeing how you respond to the streams. So I really appreciate that. Probably by next year, I am going to create another channel, but it won't be political. It won't be social. It will be a fun channel. I'm going to be doing a vlog channel, pretty much taking you on a journey with me through various places in California, in cities and what have you, and exploring what's happening out there in the great beyond, okay? Out there in the real world. And so that channel is going to be for everybody. It's not going to be just, oh, if you're Black, it's going to be an everybody type channel, meaning it's going to be a fun channel. And so that channel won't get off the ground until sometime in 2022. I'm taking my time. I'm not uploading anything yet. I'm just simply doing all the research because the channel has a potential to probably be a huge channel if I do it right and do it the right way and take my time and learn from people who are already doing the type of material that I'm going to be doing. This is a channel that will appeal to people all over the world, internationally as well, because of the fact that I'm going into places in California or wherever I travel and letting you see the cities, the nature, and just making incredible stories out of these experiences. So that's coming sometime in 2020. And it's going to be a while before it gets started because I got to do a lot of research and get everything ready to go for that particular channel. So that will be a channel that will be about fun, enjoyment and not just the polarizing issues. So I'm involved in research and post-production on that right now, figuring out how I want to do that. You're going to see me out in the field, taking the camera, and I might be going to festivals, cultural festivals. I might be going to a community where they're working with kids and putting that all on camera, along with the scenery around me and what have you. It may be something that you might find very interesting. We're just going to see how it all comes together. That's going to be sometime middle part of 2022. It's going to be a while. I got to do that one right. So I want to thank you, and I hope that many of you will come over and join that channel. It just won't be a channel like this channel, but I want you to also become a part of that channel as well. With that said, it's time for me to get on out of here, and I appreciate everybody. So let me go ahead and do that. And with that said, peace to you all. Everybody take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Appreciate everybody. Peace.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Share the video too, everybody, in your social media. I appreciate that.
Make sure to subscribe to his channel. Next Truth.
I'm racing the clock, look at them block, watching them flop. Used to see this in my sleep, when I ain't had shit but my thoughts and thought, I really was lost. Now I'm public with the soundscapes, floss, I'm really pulling strings for the pound cake. I see you went for a puppet in the clown face for a little wage. The talk of the town is late, still me, I never switch sides, came a long way with the gas tank running on fumes, wonder why you full on the envy. When it's all love, when I fall through with the young bulls, getting niggas a kidney, but you ain't mob, you a op. Must be lost in the sauce. Been here for the art and the jump start. Wanted this, a small pack the lunchbox with the Kool-Aid jammers. And I'm still throwing tantrum. I'm set to roam around the planet where they know the songs and they chant them. The vision turned into fruition. I'm really liking how it's panning. They call me collector, you thought I planned it. Been crazy, then it fell into place. Now everything's stable. I'm all in on the table. You selling that fable, we know that it's made up. We know what you made of. I do better offline, yeah. I've been calling to a guy, I'm in tune with the signs. I'm just trying to let go, I'm just trying to be me. I'm just trying to do fine. Moon landed with the elevation, arm strong with the levitation. My third eye needed calibration, that was heat rock when I notated. I've been going crazy. Stone face when I kill beat, even no trace on location, premeditated. Hey, can't even be still for like more than a minute. The way that they play out, I don't wanna miss. I don't know part of this shit. Feel like I'm deep in the plot of a flick, and I'm the star of this shit. And I've been playing my part since back when we started this. Feeling charged, got a little coin on me, and I sauce with the nits. I'm a boss, I'm a prick. With the cold showed up in the road doja in the fourth quarter, no assist. And the form's hella crisp. I'm the calm in a storm. I took my own struggle when I flipped it. And the hustle been legitimate. It's so many blessings, I might be allergic. How I move the treating the sound like I'm stirring. I'm working the pot till it's firm. I serve like Serena, do it the cleanest. You not on my wave, you can't handle the current. Nah, that's just a teaser, yeah. I'ma be me, take it or leave it. I do better offline, yeah. I've been calling to a guy, I'm in tune with the signs. I'm just trying to let go, I'm just trying to be me. I'm just trying to do fine.
I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down to ride, you weren't down to ride. Caught switching, you were picking sides. Don't blink, caught slipping like a slip and slide. I was shooting dice till I got a nosebleed. Money on the floor, can't get cold feet. Took a L, should've put it in the offering. Lord, forgive me for my sins, don't know of me. Scary thoughts, I got scary thoughts. Lost control, now I'm taking charge. Breaking bills, friends breaking off. You could be the youngest, I'm the dawn. Kiss the ring, nah. In the scene like G.O.T. Stay awake, don't sleep. Like Jon Snow, get R.I.P. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. Just me, myself, and I'm my favorite threesome. The cars I drive by, I never lease them. They say if you can't beat them, then you join them. That's no option, I don't join, I always beat them. I was fake, it had to find me. Now I'm on beat, skating like I'm grinding. L hit me, said it's all about the timing. If you want the vision, get to spinning. My mama told me trust in God, it's never limits. Now I'm on the scoreboard, running up the digits. I put in work, you know I'm up to get it. Early bird gets the worm and the Yankee fitted. Like whoa, bags under my eyes and you know. Won't complain, I'm tired, I'm on go. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right. Now I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel. You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.